Welcome back to the channel. This is Training Storm and you are watching What If Naruto Trained Young Justice League. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Not wasting no time. Let's start the story.
Looking out over Metropolis, Naruto gazes 3 years have passed since he arrived in this new world, which is very dissimilar from the elemental nations. It's been the calmest 3 years of his life. I think of the word boring in the past. He was a ninja who went on missions that nearly killed him, a warrior who has killed his opponents and bathed in their blood in innumerable battles. He thought he would never want that lifestyle, but now that it's gone, he longs for the action. He has been a weapon since he was 1 year old. The strongest demon was sealed within him by the 4th Hokage. Being a weapon for the village they served as the fate of a Jinchuriki. Unfortunately, rather than serving the village, one particular ninja had chosen to use him for his own ends. The legendary snake Sannin, Orochimaru, betrayed Konoha by stealing many of its secrets, including Naruto Uzumaki, who was only a year old. Naruto was not missed by any of the villagers. From the village's perspective, Naruto is just another demon. Just like the Kyuubi, few people actually recognized him as the youngster he had been. He had no idea what was right or wrong when he was 1 year old. He has no idea that he is currently under the control of one of the world's most repugnant and malevolent ninjas. He was raised like a son by Orochimaru, who gave him everything he could possibly want. Naruto saw Orochimaru as a father rather than an evil person. Naruto was brought up by Orochimaru to be the ideal weapon. At the tender age of 5, Naruto became proficient in the shadow clone technique. When they vanish, shadow clones can learn and impart that knowledge to the original user. Gaining physical strength is the only thing a shadow clone is incapable of. By the time he turned 8, Naruto had learned a dozen low-level jutsu and several advanced chakra control exercises using the shadow clone technique. Although he is by no means a prodigy, he was able to create 10 shadow clones at once thanks to his enormous chakra reserves. Orochimaru had been thrilled to learn that Naruto would become extremely strong. Regretfully, Orochimaru was unable to make Naruto a heartless murderer despite his best efforts in some way. Naruto learned kindness and compassion from his upbringing. He treated the ninja who worked for Orochimaru with such kindness and compassion because Naruto never tormented them the way Orochimaru had a reputation for doing. The Sound Ninja adored him. Without question, Naruto always did as his father said. But as he got older, he went on more missions outside of the village. He started to be away from Orochimaru more and more. Soon, he was filled with the words, family, and friend. He observed children playing joyfully with their parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, and other family members. He observed how the younger ninja looked up to their sensei and how the sensei actually seemed to care about their students while spying on other ninja from various villages. Since he had never experienced any of those emotions from his own father or fellow soldiers, it left him feeling hollow on the inside. That's when he discovered the truth. His inner demon was sealed when his real parents passed away. He was taken from Konoha by Orochimaru in order to be used as a weapon. Naruto was devastated by the truth. He thought Orochimaru was his father all along when no one else loved him. He's just a tool at the end of the day. Despite his desire, he was unable to hate Orochimaru. Orochimaru had provided for him and fulfilled all of his desires. Yes, everything had been done to obtain the ideal weapon, but Orochimaru could have used much more brutal tactics to force Naruto to comply. Akatsuki is after you. They want the power of the demon inside of you, Orochimaru replied. In front of Orochimaru, Naruto stood after defeating 2 Akatsuki members. He said, I understand. I will train harder. Hoshigaki Kisame and the stone's Dediara. Orochimaru grinned. That won't help. These ninja are on a different level than you. Though you are my strongest apprentice, I am going to make sure that they never get their hands on the demon inside of you. The demon will be sealed away in a secret location that only I will know about. Akatsuki will never get their hands on the demon. Naruto understood what that meant. I see. When a Jinchuriki's demon is removed, it cannot survive to gain an advantage over Akatsuki. Orochimaru will murder him. He dropped to one knee and lowered his hand. Orochimaru grinned broadly and said, as you desire. Being a ninja never really appealed to him. Taking another person's life because they are from different villages has never felt right. He enjoys training and picking up new skills, but he gladly abandons the senseless killing for financial gain and the benefit of the community. Orochimaru made the necessary preparations without hesitation. Before long, Naruto was lying in a seal that would take the demon out of him and put it in a strong statue made to contain the Kyuubi. What transpired during the sealing was unknown to Naruto. He only knew that he had woken up in a Los Angeles alley. He had no knowledge of this strange new world. He should definitely be dead, but the fact that he is still alive and well suggests that someone up there must like him. Naruto turned to the most well-known man in the world and asked, why did you call me out here? Superman took to the skies. He is meeting with a member of the League Hubby at the age of 18. The young man is the youngest Justice League member. The young man was little-known Batman, the greatest detective in the world. knew nothing more about the young hero than that he was a master of ninjutsu, espionage, stealth, and assassination techniques. Throughout his years as a hero, Superman has faced hundreds of villains with a wide range of abilities. Naruto's array of skills and techniques overshadowed them all. The young hero has the ability to control fire, wind, lightning, water, and earth. He has a very strategic mind that can quickly analyze complex problems and is more adept at moving in the shadows than Batman. The fact that Naruto is doing well makes Superman very happy. He sees Naruto standing on the building's ledge up ahead. Naruto had an attractive face, ocean blue eyes, a lithe muscular frame, and golden blonde hair that stuck up at every angle. He was 5 feet 7 inches tall. He is dressed in a long-sleeved red shirt with a black snake that resembles Manda on the back. He has black ninja sandals on, loose black pants that are wrapped up at the shins, and bandages wrapped around his hands in honor of the man who reared him. A purple rope is tied in a bow around his waist. What stands out the most about him is a big, bandaged sword to honor his home. A high 8 with a musical note is tied around his forehead. Superman soars toward the structure. Naruto pivoted to confront Superman. "Why did you call me out here?" "I wanted to speak to you about possibly taking on a new assignment, a long-term assignment that involves training a new batch of heroes," stated Superman. Naruto arched an eyebrow and asked, "Training a new batch of heroes? I am afraid that I don't understand. Does the Justice League now recruit children to take over when the older members pass away?" Superman gave a headshake. "That isn't what I meant. As you know, certain members of the League have apprentices or sidekicks. Well, we have decided to make them probationary members of the League, give them access to the Hall of Justice, and begin to show them how the League operates until they are ready to become full-fledged members." Naruto looked disinterested. "I don't remember having to go through such activities." "It is different. Unlike them, you have proven yourself more than capable of handling yourself. They are not nearly as capable as you or the rest of the League members," said Superman. Naruto was unable to dispute that despite his youthful appearance, he has likely seen more than Superman or any other member of the League additional combat experience. A group of superheroes from all over the world make up the Justice League. Due to their actions, many of the heroes are League members even though they operated independently. Despite being a League member, Naruto has only participated in a small number of joint missions. Seldom does the entire League come together to confront a threat. Such an event has occurred very infrequently. He was aware of the League's intentions. Children are treated like children in this world until they are at least 18 years old. Elemental nations never undervalued an opponent. Regardless of the ninja's age, these apprentices or sidekicks most likely possess a great deal of experience and are on par with a genin. But the adults do not treat them with the respect they deserve, instead focusing only on their ages like everyone else. Naruto got a stern look and asked, "Why are you asking me? I am well aware that very few members of the League trust me. I doubt even you trust me that much, so why put me in charge of the future generation of heroes?" Superman looked directly into Naruto's eyes and said, "Because we believe you are best suited for the role. Although no one personally knows you that well, your abilities and actions have spoken for themselves. It is a covert team. An incident with Cadmus 2 days ago has proven that the villains are getting smarter. A clone of me has been created right under our noses. Batman is hoping that the young group of heroes will be able to go to places that the League can't and find out who is truly behind the Cadmus operation." A Superman clone? It's a frightening thought. Indeed, among the most powerful creatures on the planet is Superman. Magic and kryptonite are the only known weaknesses. Apart from that, he is an overwhelming force that few people can stop. Naruto gazed at the clouds in the sky. Lately, he has been bored. He has nothing better to do. Really, his only way of life is that of a hero. He never gave much thought to the past or the future, preferring to live in the present. A dull way of life. It might be enjoyable to train a group of children. He used to like working out with his fellow sound ninja. Naruto nodded and said, "Okay, I will become their sensei, but I don't want any interference from their previous mentors. I am their sensei now." Superman grinned. "I am glad you accepted, Mount Justice." The following day, Robin reached the covert base. The team has only been put together for 3 days. The team is already assembling. His face lights up with a grin as he expresses his eagerness to begin taking on League missions. This is his opportunity to demonstrate that he is not a sidekick or child, but rather that he is prepared for the big time. Robin, Superboy and Miss Martian approached Robin. Miss Martian grinned and said, "Looks like you were the first one to arrive." "Nice outfit." Robin grinned. Miss Martian grinned. She had on a blue cape and a black bodysuit. It resembles the Martian Manhunter's attire quite a bit. "Good to see you again, Superboy." Superboy inclined his head slightly. The casual reply made Robin shake his head. After the portal opened, Aqualad and Kid Flash emerged as Kid moaned, "Aw man, last ones to arrive again." "Kid, Aqualad." Miss Martian grinned. "Hello." Aqualad grinned. Kid flashed up beside Miss Martian, grinning sweetly. "Hey, did you miss me? I sure missed you. Just as beautiful as I remember." Miss Martian grinned. Both Aqualad and Robin shook their heads, saying, "Thanks." Red Tornado walks into the space. "I see you have all arrived. Please head to the lower levels where the training room simulation is located. The team leader of your newly formed squad is waiting for you all." Team leader? Kid and Robin exchanged glances. The words, "I am afraid we don't understand," Aqualad said. "The Justice League has decided that you all need an experienced League member to act as team leader, though I will be staying here. Black Canary and I have been removed from our previous roles as supervisor and trainer. The newly appointed leader will be your supervisor and train you for your missions," Red Tornado said. "Please head on down." Superboy frowned. "Great, we get a babysitter." "It isn't really that much different from what Red Tornado has been doing the past few days," replied Miss Martian. Robin scowls. He did not state that he wanted to be the team's leader. "Here I thought we would be working independently from the League. I thought that one of us would be chosen to lead our team." The child complains. "This sucks. I so wanted to learn from Black Canary. I hope this new team leader is another hot female hero." The training room's doors swing open when the 5 young heroes enter a vast forest. They are taken aback. It is covered with lush grass and tall trees. "I didn't know that a forest is located under the base," Kid replied. "It's a simulation, a holographic inducer," Robin explained. Superboy looks to the future. There, his gaze is followed by the others. A lone individual can be seen reading a book while perched atop a sizable boulder. In the distance he appears older than he actually is because of the black face mask he wears, which covers the lower portion of his face. Miss Martian starts to wonder. "He doesn't look much older than us." "He sure is short," Kid remarked without admiration. Robin snaps his fingers. "I know him, hubby." The others give him a perplexed look. Robin says with a respectful expression, "It is the Japanese word for snake." He is currently the youngest member of the Justice League, having joined at the age of 17 and is now 18 or 19, I can't remember. 17. Was the child's whistle. "He doesn't look all that strong, plus that sword is ridiculously oversized. I bet he wouldn't be able to hit me with it." Hubby raises his head from his book. The young heroes move forward and sit down in front of Hubby, saying, "Come take a seat on the ground. I'd like to begin." Leaping down, Hubby sits down in front of them. "First thing first. Introductions. I know little about you and you know little about me. If we are going to work together, then we have to know a bit more about each other. I want name, likes, dislikes, and powers. Don't want to give me your real name, then give me your code name." "I'll start. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like things, and I dislike other things. I specialize in fighting," Hubby replied. The child gestures with his finger. "All we really learned is your name." Hubby gestures toward Miss Martian. "You're up." Okay, my name is Megan Moors, but you can call me Megan. It's an Earth name and I am on Earth now," laughed Megan. Hubby looks at her impassively. She moves uneasily. "I like to bake and I dislike when others discriminate against others. I have the power to shapeshift, telekinesis, and telepathy." Then came Aqualad. "I am Calderam, but feel free to call me Calder. That is what my friends call me. I like to fight for justice and help those who are unable to help themselves, and I dislike those who cause harm to others. My main power is to use my water bearers to manipulate water into various weapons that I battle with." The name is Robin. "I like to train in acrobatics. I dislike being treated as a kid and I have been trained in several forms of martial arts along with being an expert hacker," laughed Robin. Superboy. "I like to fight and I dislike wasting my time. I have the same powers as Superman," said Superboy. The child grinned. "Name is Wally West, also known as Kid Flash. I like pretty girls and I dislike going slow. My power is being faster than everyone else." Then Hubby stood up. He motioned for them to follow suit. The youthful heroes rise, staring directly at Hubby. "Feel free to call me Naruto Sensei during training sessions or when not out on a mission, otherwise you'll address me as Sensei or Hubby Sensei," Naruto replied. Naruto rubs his mask's underside. "The first thing I need to do is see your strength and weaknesses." Superboy frowned. "I am a living weapon. I have no weaknesses." Naruto went on as though Superboy had never said anything. He takes an alarm clock out of his pouch and says, "So to do that I have a simple test for you." He set it for an hour after noon, but it is now 10 in the morning. On top of the boulder, he sets the alarm clock. "The test is for you to land a single solid blow on me before the timer goes off." The child grinned. "This will be too easy. Watch this," the haughty teenager exclaims as he advances quickly. Kid Flash can only approach Naruto within a foot before a heavy object hits his back, sending him crashing to the ground. Superboy, Miss Martian, Aqualad, and Robin all look on in wonder as Naruto uses his big sword to pin Kid Flash to the ground. "Such speed and strength," Aqualad exclaimed. Miss Martian swallowed hard. "I didn't even see him move." "He's good, real good," Robin described him as. "I never said begin," Naruto said. "Calm down. Before the sword bites, kid, He raises Samahata as Naruto puts it back on his back. Samahata lets out a little whine. Kid Flash stands up alongside the others and rolls away. Ready. Begin. Naruto disappears in a cloud of smoke. Superboy said, running away he isn't so tough, and fled into the forest. Wait, we shouldn't. Superboy vanishes into the trees, and Aqualad sighs. He looks over at Robin. The air is filled with laughter as Robin disappears. The child donned his goggles. No way am I going to lose. Kid also disappears in a haze. Miss Martian and Aqualad exchange glances before parting ways as well. In a clearing, Naruto stood calmly and read his book. The young heroes have fulfilled his expectations to the letter. They're all running off alone. They all believe that passing this test will be simple. It seems that his demonstration with Kid failed to demonstrate his superiority over them all. He learned from Orochimaru to never undervalue an opponent. If a ninja underestimates an opponent, they will probably lose. Immediately in front of Naruto, Superboy emerges from the trees. No more running. Naruto puts his book down and asks, running? Superman's clone says, whatever makes you feel better. Superboy rushes in Naruto's direction. Naruto sighs to himself as he observes Superboy's slow-motion movements. Where is the super speed for someone who claims to have Superman abilities? To dodge a punch, Naruto takes a sidestep. Superboy squints and delivers a second and third blow. The following two punches also hit the air. Naruto is still standing in front of Superboy, looking bored. Superboy launches a right hook, and Naruto snatches his arm, turns, and throws Superboy into a tree across the clearing. He is a Superman fighter. Naruto admires Superman's principles and the way the hero always puts the needs of others before his own. Brute force without style. He didn't appreciate, though, that Superman never thinks about learning a fighting style or martial arts. Superman simply moves around, overwhelming his opponents with his strength and speed. A style that is easy to counter and is predictable. That didn't hurt at all. It'll take more than that to take me down, said Superboy. Superboy's chest is where Naruto gestures. Superboy notices a piece of paper covering the S on his chest. When he looks down, there is a seal on the paper. Huh? Naruto creates a hand seal and says, activate. Superboy is struck by lightning, which electrocutes him. Superboy lets out a painful scream before passing out on the ground. Naruto raises his arm and takes a sidestep. A red blur takes a hard close line and crashes into his arm. Kid Flash does a complete backflip before collapsing to the ground, unconscious. Too predictable, Naruto thought. Although Kid Flash fights similarly to the Flash, he lacks many of the Flash's abilities. Much like Superboy, Flash is able to move faster than Naruto's eyes contract. Kid Flash's movements are easily visible to Naruto. I can now understand why the League and Superman are opposed to granting them full membership. This kind of arrogance will result in their death on the battlefield. Naruto disappeared into the wind, saying, let's see how the others fare. Robin touches down on a branch. He looks down and sees Naruto strolling through the trees. Found him. His hands reach for his utility belt, and a smirk comes to his face. He needs to pass this test now to prove to everyone that he is prepared for the big time. Robin throws a few bird-a-rangs in a blur. Naruto's exposed back is struck by the flying weapons. Naruto throws half a dozen shuriken as he spins around after slicing through the bird-a-rangs. The shuriken keeps flying in the direction of an astonished Robin. Robin leaps off the branch and lands on the floor. He sees Naruto standing in front of him, still looking bored. Robin yells, got you. Directly at Naruto, a barrage of punches is blocked by Naruto's raised hands. When Robin clenches his teeth to attempt a leg sweep, Naruto flips him over and lands behind him. Batman's sidekick arrives with a punch that lands in the air. What? Robin falls to the ground after taking a blow to the side of his head. Naruto asked, do you still think you have me? Yep, Robin says, tossing a bird by the rang. The bird-a-rang cuts through the invisible wire as it flies by Naruto. As a net emerges from the trees and approaches Naruto, his eyes narrow. He pulls out a kunai and cuts through the net with it. When a second trap is set off, bird-a-rangs start to fall from the sky. Robin maneuvers behind Naruto as he steps backwards. This test is mine. Naruto is kicked, but he dodges it by turning around. Surprise first fills Robin's eyes. Then pain. Robin is knocked to his knees by Naruto's punch to the stomach. Naruto gazes down at Robin calmly as the darkness engulfs him. Robin says, definitely more prepared than the others, but still much too arrogant. Miss Martian is searching for the others while soaring through the air. She sincerely hopes that everyone is doing well. She sees Superboy standing in a clearing, surveying the area, and a smile comes to her face. Superboy. Miss Martian grinned. Hey, Superboy grunted. Miss Martian inquires astoundedly, I am glad you are okay. Do you know where the others are? Superboy gives a nod. He gestures forward. Miss Martian turns to see Superboy, Kid Flash, and an unconscious Robin bound together with ninja wires. She turns to look at Superboy, and horror fills her eyes instead. Naruto is standing beside her, looking bored. Miss Martian exclaims, "How? You can shape-shift like us Martians?" Beside Miss Martian, Naruto throws a kunai to the ground. A net rises up to catch her as the ground beneath her explodes as the net is electrified. Miss Martian lets out a painful scream. She collapses to the ground, unconscious. Within a few seconds the answer is, "I can do many things." Naruto says, "One more to go, 4 down." Aqualad pulls out his weapons and says, "I have a bad feeling." Since the others fled on their own, he has little choice but to confront Naruto-sensei alone. Even though he doesn't want to, a familiar face awaits Aqualad as he makes his way to a river with his hands in his pockets. Naruto stands before the river. Naruto turns to face Aqualad. "It seems you are the only one left. I wonder how long you will last before falling." Aqualad holds his weapons close to him. The others. Naruto raises a finger for each of the following names: Superboy, Kid Flash, Robin, and Miss Martian. Then he gives a thumbs up. "Now it is Aqualad's turn. I have been seriously disappointed. I barely had to try to take them all down. I fear for the future of the Justice League." Water starts to trickle down Aqualad's forehead. His throat is dry, and his hands are getting slippery. Every one of his friends has lost. The person who brought them all down is standing in front of him. Not a single scratch or hair out of place is visible to Aqualad. Naruto advances a step. "What will you do? Fight me or run in fear?" Aqualad says, "I am not going to run," and draws his weapons, sending river water flying in the direction of his water-bearers. 2 whips are formed out of the water. Aqualad has mediocre skill when swinging the whips. Naruto avoids the attacks with ease. He sees the desperation and fear in Aqualad's eyes. That fear has persisted ever since he defeated Kid Flash with Samahada. Only Aqualad fully comprehended the magnitude of the power he was up against. Aqualad is kicked in the face and falls backward, striking the ground with force. "I have to admit, you are not as arrogant as the others, though that doesn't mean you are smarter than them," replied Naruto. Aqualad stands up slowly, gritting his teeth. The air is filled with a ringing sound. Naruto says as he leaves, "Well, it appears that the test is over. Come on. Let's go see if your friends are awake." Superboy wakes up slowly, moaning before opening his eyes. A hand touches his head and rubs his temples. He sees Naruto reading a book while leaning against a training post. Superboy stiffens. Aqualad declares, "The test is over. We failed." Superboy looks at Aqualad. On his head is Robin, Kid Flash, and Miss Martian begin to slowly awaken. Aqualad gestures with his arm. Kid moans, "Man, I have a major headache." Robin stands up abruptly. "Is it over?" "Yes." Aqualad responds. Miss Martian's eyes are guilty as she looks down. "Then we have failed." The child turns to face Naruto, clutching his fists. Superboy says, "No way, he beat us all?" Naruto raises his head from his book. "Yes, I did. I have to say I don't know what the others see in you. In my opinion, all of you should retire and quit being heroes. Don't look down upon me." Superboy roars. Naruto holds a green-tipped kunai to Superboy's throat and slams him face first into the ground. In a blur, Superboy senses his strength ebbing away. "This is a kunai tipped with kryptonite. Do you feel your power disappearing?" says Naruto when Superboy tries to move. Naruto holds him in place. Naruto glances up at the other characters. His eyes take on a stern expression that foretells suffering and death. Miss Martian kill Kid Flash or Superboy dies. Shock and surprise fill Miss Martian's eyes. She looks at Kid Flash, who swallows. Aqualad and Robin stand motionless in terror as Naruto throws Superboy to the others. The atmosphere abruptly shifts. In a real battle, an enemy will not play fair or nice. He will use any advantage he can to win the fight, even so much as to resorting to taking hostages that might be your friends or civilians, such as a small child. Naruto said he sees a defeated and guilty expression in the young hero's eyes. "That was harsh," Kid says, not being his typically humorous self. Naruto gives them all a stern look and says, "Life is harsh, especially for those who choose to be heroes. The test I gave you wasn't to test your individual abilities. You all have special abilities and powers. Guess what? So do I. You all have been fighting crime. So have I. The difference between us is that I am stronger. Don't like it? Too bad. That is the truth. There is a reason I am a part of the Justice League. Did you really think that any of you stood a chance against me one-on-one?" Robin scowls. "Then the test was impossible. Why give it to us?" Naruto gives Robin a quick look. "Because the 5 of you need to realize that right now none of you have the power to face opponents like me on your own. The Justice League doesn't deal with simple criminals who wave around guns acting tough. We face supervillains with powers and plans that can destroy the world." "Then how were we supposed to pass the test?" replied Kid. The young heroes are filled with surprise. "By working together like a team. What you can't accomplish alone, you can accomplish by working together." "Why do you think I had all of you introduce yourselves before we started?" to get to know one another and learn each other's abilities. However, the moment the test began, each of you ran off on your own, thinking it was going to be a piece of cake. If there is one thing you need to learn, it is to never underestimate your opponent, Naruto said. Aqualad raised his voice. Give us another chance, we won't fail a second time. Robin remarked, come on, give us another try. One more time, Kid said with a nod. Silently, Naruto stands, his gaze is fixed on the young heroes, who gaze at him with such resolve. The young heroes' faces light up as they say, okay, I will give you one more chance, but not all of you will get the chance for failing the first test. I am only going to allow 4 of you to take the second test. The 5th person will leave and not have a chance to become part of the team. Who that 5th person is, I will leave up to you all. What? That isn't fair. My rules. Naruto scowled. The child fell silent. I will give you 5 minutes to make your decisions, or you all fail and none of you get a second chance. All of you will go back to being sidekicks. Stepping forward, Aqualad drops his weapons. I refuse. I will not choose one of my friends and teammates to leave. Robin gives a nod of agreement. Neither will I. The superhero crosses his arms over his chest. We can always work together without the League's help. Yeah, Kid grinned. Miss Martian grinned. We won't betray another. The young heroes were struck with a great desire to kill. They turned to face Naruto, who has his eyes narrowed in rage, and are filled with fear. The young heroes were struck by a slight gust of wind. As the wind began to pick up, Naruto steps forward and asks, I give you a second chance and you throw it back in my face? I have only thing to say? Pulling his hands into his pocket, Naruto does so. You pass. Child collapses onto his ass. What? I thought you were going to kill us. I don't understand, Miss Martian acknowledged. Naruto turns around and begins to leave, saying, I wanted to see if you would betray one another. If you did, then you fail. But you all stood together like a true team. The holographic image disappears, revealing a sizable metallic room with the words, Team training begins tomorrow at sunrise, don't be late. Robin grinned. All right. Superboy grinned. Man, that guy is crazy. I do not look forward to team training, Kid replied. I bet we will learn a great deal under his tutelage, Aqualad replied. Miss Martian grinned. Anyone want some lunch? As the young heroes depart the training room in anticipation of tomorrow, Naruto observes in silence behind his mask. There's a smile. Maybe this isn't as bad as it seems. Wally staggers forward and falls to the ground, face down. Next to arrive, Robin and Calder collapse to their asses. Naruto notices Superboy carrying a tired Megan. When he looks up from his book, Megan blushes a little. That wasn't bad. The teamwork needs work, but otherwise you did complete the exercise, Naruto responds. This has to be some form of torture in the morning. You put us through this hardcore workout, then straight into through several obstacles courses from hell, Wally complained. Robin gives a nod. I thought Batman is a slave driver. Calder gives Naruto a look. Naruto-sensei, it seems every move we made set off a trap. That is because it is a team exercise. When one of you reveals your presence, the others are caught as well. The only person who didn't activate a trap is Robin. Naruto looks at Megan. Some of you activated every trap. Megan flushes with shame. Sorry. Naruto gives a headshake. It isn't completely your fault. Teams work best with communication. Robin didn't communicate at all, too busy showing off, and the others were having just as hard as time as you. This team thing is going to take some getting used to, Robin murmurs. That will be all for today. Meet again tomorrow at the same time, Naruto said. Sealing his hands, he disappears in a whirl of leaves. That is cool, say Wally. Superboy leaves the training room limping a little. None of the others are in any better shape. Take a break. Leaning against the wall is Canary. When she sees Naruto approaching her, a grin spreads across her face. After giving her a quick glance, Naruto continues to move. She appears next to him. The height of the two is the same. How is it going with the kids? Naruto asks. Why are you interested? Wow, I never expected you to take such an interest in training a group of kids. I guess you never know a person, huh? Says Canary. Naruto stops. He turns his head to face Canary. Don't make me kill you. She erupts in laughter as he resumes walking, saying, you are one of the few people I like. Canary. Canary strolls alongside him, wearing a playful expression. He may have killed her for such a trivial reason in the past, but that killer is long gone. He is among the greatest people she knows and a hero. He doesn't know why he tolerates her. She irritates me in a lot of ways. He must confess out loud that no, even though she is a good comrade. Among the world's top martial artists is Canary. Since she is a more skilled martial artist than he is, she could likely tie Batman up or at least put up a fierce fight. He had been partnered with Canary when he first joined the League. She is one of the few people who doesn't despise Naruto due to his youth, and Naruto has grown to trust her. I didn't think I would like it at first, but they have potential. It is better than running around a city looking for criminals and villains to fight, Naruto says. Maybe, but we both know that you could do what the League wants them to do all on your own. No one is better at moving around in the shadows than you, Canary replied. That is true, declares Naruto. I have no desire to become the shadow of the Justice League. My days of a ninja are over. I much prefer the light to the darkness. Canary's face lights up with a smile. The children are unaware of how fortunate they are to have Naruto as their teacher. You want to learn how to work in the shadows from Naruto more than anyone else. He is the greatest. Take a break. Speedy fires a number of impact arrows in rapid succession. Brick is struck by the arrows as they fly through the air. The docks are filled with 3 explosions. Brick, his shirt ruined, emerges from the smoke. Brick tears off what's left of the shirt, exposing his arms and chest, which are swollen with muscles. Arg. Do you realize how difficult it is to find clothing in my size? He asks. Brick gives Speedy the finger. Waste him. Brick's goons pull out their guns and start shooting at Speed. 3 thugs are knocked unconscious as a yellow blur rushes through the docks. Kid Flash grins and takes the weapons from a few thugs. I'll take those, he says. Robin throws 4 bird-a-rangs while leaping high into the air as he dispatches 4 more thugs with ease. A smirk comes to his face. How's it going, Speedy? We came to invite you to join our team. Aqualad rushes forward with his water bearers, forming a pair of whips. The remaining 2 thugs are taken down by the water whips that shoot through the air. The base is filled with everything that we need. Hubby-sensei is training us to start taking missions, Aqualad says. Kid grins and appears beside Speedy. Yeah, plus Miss Martian is a real babe, he says. An arrow that Speedy notches points straight at Brick. Go ahead, Brick says with a grin at Brick. The arrow flies. It engulfs Brick instead of blowing up and releasing high-density polyfoam. The child grins. Nice one. Speedy lands next to Robin. Speedy leaps up beside Aqualad. What do you say? Robin asks with a smile. Speedy says, no thanks, and turns around. Speedy leaves, vanishing into the darkness after saying, I have no desire to join your clubhouse. The League is merely keeping you all busy. Mount Justice. Wally and Robin go into Mount Justice. Is he back yet? Robin asked with a grin. Aqualad grinned. He is returning now. Aqualad is flanked by Superboy and Miss Martian. Wally exclaimed, well, let's get out there, with excitement. Red Tornado does not deploy us on missions. It is unlikely he will be giving us a mission, Megan said. Wally said, better than staying here and doing nothing, and then he hurried away. Aqualad and Robin came next. Megan and Superboy exchanged glances before heading in the same direction. A portion of the earth descends into a ramp outside the mountain. Wally runs up the ramp, and Robin and Calder follow. Megan and Superboy follow the others up the ramp. In the sky, a red tornado is headed directly for them. Before them, it touches down on the ground in front of the group of young heroes as Red Tornado. Red Tornado, Wally grinned. Red Tornado said in that emotionless, robotic voice, greetings, is there a reason you intercepted me outside the cave? Calder remarked, we hoped you had a mission for us. Red Tornado responds, hubby or Batman are in charge of mission deployment. Robin pauses as Red Tornado holds up its hand, saying, but it has been over a week. You will be tested soon enough. For the time being, I suggest you enjoy each other's company. Calder scowls. This team is not a social club. Red Tornado gives a nod of approval. The superhero android passes the young heroes and enters the cave, saying, no, it isn't. However, I am told social interaction is an important team-building exercise. Perhaps you can keep busy by familiarizing yourself with the cave. Robin is nudged by Wally. Keep busy. Robin frowns. Does he think we are falling for that? Megan smiles comfortingly. Naruto-sensei did say we will receive missions when we are ready. It has only been a week. No offense, but he doesn't seem to really care about us. I mean, he is always putting us through those crazy training obstacles that we can never pass. He rarely ever speaks unless it is to criticize us and is always reading a book rather than helping us out, Kid responds. Aqualad gives a headshake. Naruto-sensei is doing his best to help train us. I am sure he is just as new at this as we are. Let's do as Red Tornado says. Time to explore the clubhouse. Well, maybe it won't be so bad. Superboy and I live here so we can be tour guides, laughed Miss Martian. She is making every effort to focus on the good aspects of the circumstance. Superboy laughed. Don't look at me. We won't. Wally, who was standing near Megan, grinned. A private tour sounds much better. Robin scowled. She didn't say anything about private. Team building. We all go, Calder uttered when guiding them around Mount Justice. Megan takes the lead. She points out the front and rear doors to them. Megan grinned and said, the entire mountain is the base. It was hollowed out by Green Lantern and Superman, then reinforced in the early days of the League, Wally said. Superboy questioned, Then why abandon it for the Hall of Justice? Calder, the base was compromised, responds Superboy scowled. So they traded it for a tourist trap? That doesn't make any sense at all. Wait, if the bad guys know our location then we must be on alert at all times, Megan became concerned. Robin grinned. The bad guys know we know about them knowing so they would never think to look here. Wally clarified, in other words, we are hiding in plain sight. Megan grinned. That makes sense, Superboy took a whiff of the air, I smell smoke. Megan lets out a gasp she takes off with, my cookies. The others exchange curious glances before moving in unison. Miss Martian is standing in front of a counter table with a baking sheet full of burnt cookies. When they arrive in the kitchen, Megan gives a sheepish smile and says, oh no, I was trying out Granny Jones' recipe from episode 7. Never mind. Hey, don't worry about it, I am sure they would have tasted great. He doesn't seem to mind, laughed Robin. Everyone turns to watch Wally as he eats the cookies, and there's a crunching sound. Wally exclaimed, what? I have a serious high metabolism. Megan said, I'll make more? It was kind of you to make any, Calder says with a smile. Thanks. Megan smiles. Megan flews off. Hello Megan. I know what we can do, follow me. Superboy, Calder, Wally, and Robin exchange glances before shrugging in the same direction. The four follow. Megan points to a red pod-shaped object with a radiant smile. Here it is, this is my Mars bimolecular ship, it is how I got here. Wally remarked, cute, not very aerodynamic, but cute. As the pod changes into an alien spacecraft, the boys all say, silly, it's still asleep, I'll wake it up. After turning it around with her telekinesis, Megan opens the back, a door opens and a ramp descends. Come on, Megan grinned. Robin is the first to move forward, others come after. 4 seats appear, and Wally and Robin grin with excitement. Megan grinned as she sat in a designated seat that materialized for her. Please take a seat and buckle up. Robin exclaimed, whoa, as the strap instantly fastened him. This is cool. Wally grinned. Megan's hands go up, each hand sinking into the ship is surrounded by a blue sphere of energy. She grins. The dock bay doors open, indicating that Red Tornado has received the request. Red Tornado, please open the dock bay doors. At a moderate speed, the ship takes off from the mountain. Incredible, Robin grinned. Yeah, she sure is, Wally said with a dreamy sigh. Megan looks bewildered. I mean the ship, and like all ships it is a she. Fast with his feet, not so much with his mouth, Robin grinned. Dude. Hey, how about showing us a little Martian shape shifting? Robin responds. Calder and Superboy turn around as Megan gets to her feet. She changes into Robin's female form, then into Kid Flash in female form. Wally smiled and said, it is wrong that I think I am hot. Megan gets back to her normal self, and Robin claps his hands, impressive, but you're not going to fool anyone like that. It's much more difficult to mimic boys, Megan remarked. And your clothes, Calder responds. Megan grinned. They're organic like the ship, I can mentally bend them to my will. As long as they are the only ones, Superboy remarked. The mood was definitely destroyed by that remark. The ship turned invisible from the outside. Hey, I know what else I can show you. Megan grinned and said, camouflage, I can make it invisible. A picture of Red Tornado appears on the screen. After a beeping sound, Red Tornado concluded the transmission by saying, while you are out there, might I suggest you looking into the matter? There is a disturbance at the power plant in Happy Harbor? Robin scowled and said, Red Tornado is keeping us busy. Well, a fire led you to Superboy, who knows what this will lead us to. Might as well investigate what is causing the disturbance, Megan replied. Superboy glances out. I think I found what is causing the disturbance. When the team looks, they see a tornado that is unusually large and directly aimed at them. Megan attempts to escape, but the strong winds drag them and the tornado begins to spin them around. She escapes the tornado by flying into the parking lot. A hole appears beneath the ship after it hovers above the ground. 5 heroes plummet to the ground, landing lightly. Calder asked, Robin, are tornadoes common in New England? No response, Robin? The air is filled with laughter as Robin stealthily leaves without anyone noticing. He was just here, Megan exclaims, startled. Within the structure, a gust of wind flies Robin into the wall, and he screams in agony. Superboy sprints ahead of Robin. Who's your new friend? I didn't catch his name, but he plays rough, Robin said sternly through his glasses. Calder looks at the guilty party. Red Tornado on steroids is how he describes it. Larger arms and a considerably bulkier frame. Superboy charges ahead. The antagonist raises its arms, producing a strong wind gust. Superboy grinds his teeth and advances cautiously. Superboy is engulfed by a twister that spins him around before launching him into the air. Calder was struck by Superboy because he was unable to move in time. They're both knocked to the ground. Wally put on his goggles and sprinted forward. Another twister from the villain sends Wally flying through the building's wall and into a distant tree. Megan and Robin enter next, but they are picked up by a twister, who spins them around before slamming them into one another. Mr. Twister remarked, "I came here expecting to fight a superhero, but I find children," Superboy yelled as he leapt in Mr. Twister's direction. Superboy is blasted into the distant wall by Mr. Twister's tiny twister, which is created when it raises its arms. "Take this." Robin throws a bird-a-rang after a flash grenade. A twister deflects the blast, but Mr. Twister was hit in the chest by the bird-a-rang. The bird-a-rang is flicked away by Mr. Twister. Mr. Twister exclaims, "No more games," and raises its arms, causing a strong tornado that hits the four young heroes and subsequently obliterates the majority of the factory. Turning around, Mr. Twister flees the building. Mr. Twister is seen by Wally leaving the factory. Wally rushes forward and asks, "Hey, what did you do with my friends?" Wally is easily sidestepped by Mr. Twister, who then throws a twister at him, sending him hurtling back toward the power plant. "Pathetic," Mr. Twister remarks as he turns to go. Robin says, "It isn't over yet," as she comes out of the factory. Wally, Calder, Megan, and Superboy also emerge. "I would have thought that you all would have realized your limitations and stayed down," replied Mr. Twister. "What do you want?" Calder wants to know. "I would think that is obvious. I want to challenge a real hero." Calder remarked. Megan read his mind and find a weakness. Megan's expression is one of surprise. "I thought I wasn't supposed to read the mind of others." When Wally says, "You can read the minds of the bad guys," Megan nods and extends her telepathic reach. She feels astonished because she doesn't detect any mental activity at all. "I can't read his mind. He is an inorganic being." "Hello, Megan." "Of course. Mr. Twister is Red Tornado in disguise." "Mr. Twister is inorganic. How many android do you know that can manipulate twisters?" replied Megan. Calder's gaze enlarges. "Red Tornado sent us here. After telling us that we would be tested soon. This is his test, something to keep us busy," Robin replied. "For example, Speedy called it, we're a joke," Wally said. Calder strike his palm with his fist. Wally frowns. Wally, Robin, and Calder went up to Mr. Twister and said, "This game is over. We know who you are and what you want," Robin screamed. "Let's put an end to this," Calder said. Mr. Twister lifts its arms and exclaims, "Consider it ended." The sky grew gloomier. A tornado's eye began to form. Calder screamed, "Impressive, but we will not indulge you." The skies begin to fill with lightning. Wally swallowed. Can Red Tornado do that?" Mr. Twister regarded the young heroes with contempt. The supervillain android threw his hands down at the young heroes and said, "You think that I am Red Tornado? How ironic." A huge lightning bolt descends from the sky. It is aimed directly at the group of young heroes. Before the young heroes, a blur appears. Caden. The young heroes are surrounded by a dome of spinning chakra that safely deflects the lightning. The young heroes are filled with surprise. Mr. Twister looks down, unsure of what's going on. The chakra sphere disappears. "I don't appreciate you attacking my students," Naruto says as he crouches in front of his students. Arms outstretched each way, he stands with his arms at his sides, gazing up at Mr. Twister. As he looks at Hubby, Mr. Twister says, "Another child? I grow tired of facing children." Hubby's eyes narrow, his hands come together and flash through hand seals as he says, "I don't care what you think of me. However, I will not allow you to harm my students. Now I will be your opponent." He touches his mouth with his fingers. Fire release. Phoenix of the Sage Fire. 6 fireballs shoot in Mr. Twister's direction. A strong gust of wind is released as Mr. Twister raises its arms. The fireballs are extinguished by the wind gust, but the shuriken concealed within keep moving forward. Hubby's fingers twitch as she wraps Mr. Twister in the invisible ninja wire. He yanks the wire, sending Mr. Twister crashing into the earth. Robin's eyes enlarge. "Whoa, I didn't know he can breathe fire." Letting go of the ninja wire, Hubby declares, "This fight is pointless," releasing Mr. Twister. Calder asks, "What are you doing?" When Wally asks, "You are letting him go?" he is stunned. Mr. Twister gets to his feet. "It seems I underestimated you. I will not make that mistake a second time." Hubby's gaze is fixed on Mr. Twister. "Miss Martian, open a mental link connecting our minds." Okay," Miss Martian said, establishing a mental connection. "It is time to work as a team. This villain is severely limited in his abilities. Together you can overcome him," Hubby mentally said. "Team battle formation beta." Miss Martian flies away from the others in a backward direction, taking his utility belt out. Robin drapes it over his body. Calder drops into a fighting crouch as Superboy cracks his knuckles. Wally modifies his eyewear. 4 exploding balls of smoke are thrown by Hubby's blurry hands. Mr. Twister extinguishes the smoke and asks, "Trying to hide?" The heroes are all gone. Mr. Twister searches the area for his targets. Miss Martian can be seen soaring through the air. When it looks up, I see they all ran away, leaving you behind. Mr. Twister is approached from the side by a red blur. A slight wind gust is produced when Mr. Twister lifts its right arm. Wally smirks as he dodges the wind gust and turns on a dime. Have to be faster than that, Wally says as he circles Mr. Twister in a broad circle. The air is filled with laughter, throwing a flurry of bird-orangs. Robin leaps from the factory's roof. A gust of wind strikes Wally, knocking him down. The bird-orangs are blown away by a gust of wind created by Mr. Twister. To the supervillain's perplexity, the bird-orangs remain motionless. Miss Martian grins as she moves the 6 bird-orangs around Mr. Twister in arbitrary patterns using her telekinesis. Mr. Twister exclaims, "I get tired of this," and lifts both arms, forming a strong tornado that consumes everything within 5 feet of him. The tornado destroys the bird-orangs. The tornado subsides at Mr. Twister's back. A tree flies. Someone hits Mr. Twister. The tree carries the supervillain into the ground from the air. The impact of the tree causes pieces of the metal that comprise the android's body to shatter. There is significant damage to Mr. Twister's chest. The android emits sparks. 2 water whips encircle Mr. Twister's body before he can recover. Calder spins Mr. Twister around and throws him into the air using his superpowers. Miss Martian hovers over him, freezing him in midair with her telekinesis with his explosive bird-orangs. Robin throws them. Mr. Twister's arms and chest are punctured by the bird-orangs. A huge explosion fills the sky. A second later, the severely damaged android that fell from the smoke cloud is caught by Superboy as he leaps up. There is a tiny hole in Mr. Twister's chest, and his left arm is gone. "Let's see you survive this." Superboy whips Mr. Twister around, flinging him to the ground. Face down. Another explosion of rocks and dirt is caused by the impact. Mr. Twister lies in the center of a tiny crater created by the impact. Mr. Twister lies headless and motionless. A middle-aged man with a beard and shaggy brown hair was visible when the chest opened up. The man pleaded, "Please, no more. I swear I won't cause any more trouble." Hubby strikes the man with a samahata swing. A shower of fire and metal bursts from the man's explosion. Samahata is placed on his back by him. "I am disappointed that you all didn't work as a team from the beginning. This is why I haven't had Batman give you any missions," said Naruto with regret. "Did you really think that to test you all we would have Red Tornado dress up and put civilians in danger?" Calder lets out a sigh. "It looks like we let our arrogance get the better of us again." Saying sheepishly, "Yeah, sorry about that, Sensei," Wally says, "I guess we weren't thinking about that." Megan mumbles, "We were concerned that you didn't truly care about us." Naruto furrows his brow. He approaches the young heroes and says, "If I didn't care, then I would have left after the first day of meeting you all. I know you all must be eager to prove yourselves, eager to show the Justice League and more importantly the world that you are not children, but full-fledged heroes. I assure you that all of you will get that chance." Robin grinned. "Guess we are going back to training, huh?" Naruto shakes his head. "No, today you have shown me that when you all work together as a team, you can overcome any obstacle. I'll see about getting a mission." "Yes." Robin and Wally slap their fists together. Superboy smiles. Calder and Megan both smile. Unknown place. The professor smiled and said, "Now Brahm, aren't you happy that I didn't have you pilot the machine?" "Very, but don't you feel angry?" Brahm asked. The professor grinned. The young heroes who vanquished his creation, Mr. Twister, are depicted on the screen. "No, I believe that the tracking system is operational and that the real Red Tornado was somewhere in the vicinity. Besides, you know how science works, even failures can be used as progress, and I do believe we have made progress," laughed the instructor. Mount Justice. Calder's eyes meet. "Red Tornadoes. This android was clearly sent to disable or destroy you." "Yes, I agree," Red Tornado replied. The demolished Mr. Tornado lies on a metal table in the center of the room. Megan questioned, "Is that why you didn't help us?" Red Tornado turned to Megan and said, "No, I do not believe it is my duty to solve your problems for you, nor it is your duty to solve mine. Besides, Naruto is your teacher. I leave that to him." Megan scowled. "But if you are in trouble," Red Tornado simply raises his hand to silence her. Red Tornado turned around and left the room after saying, "Consider this matter closed." Red Tornado is not a human, though he is trying to understand our emotions. He isn't quite there yet, Naruto says. Megan gives a sympathetic nod. "Speedy was so wrong." Wally grinned. "Yeah, this team thing," Robin said with a smile. "It just might work out," Calder concluded, grinning as well. Through his mask, Naruto smiles. "It's possible that the team will succeed. He will make sure it does." A Martian bioship soared through the atmosphere in the distance. It is traveling to an island. The group of young heroes is outfitted and prepared for battle inside the ship. Officially, this would be their first mission. As he sits there, Robin mulls over the debriefing. The young heroes were confronted by Batman and Naruto behind them. An image of the island appeared on the monitor. La Santa Prista. This island nation is the primary source of a dangerous and illegal neo-steroid, a strength-enhancing drug that is sold under the street name under the name Venom. Infrared has shown that the factories are still functional, but the shipments of Venom have been inexplicably stopped. This is where you all step in. This is a covert recon mission. You are there only to observe and find out what is going on if need be. The lead will step in, stated Batman. Naruto was the next to speak. Suit up and be ready to go in 20 minutes. Reaching drop zone A, Miss Martian declared, pressing the middle of his shirt. Aqualad gets to his feet. His clothing took on a dark hue that is impervious to light. Ready. Aqualad is standing when a hole appears beneath the ship. Aqualad plunges into the sea beneath. There are dozens and dozens of mines in the water. Aqualad swims past the mines with ease until he reaches a sizable cargo net. He forms two blades of intensely concentrated water and draws his weapons. He swims through the net after slicing it. Aqualad emerges onto the shore, reaching the motion sensors. He extracts a device that will set them to continuously loop. When he connects it to the motion sensors, it beeps. Motion and heat sensors are on continuous loops. I will meet you at drop zone B, says Aqualad. Within the vessel, the ship is placed in camouflage mode by Miss Martian. The naked eye can no longer see it. Drop zone B is where she flies it, almost at the drop zone, Miss Martian stated. Robin gets to his feet as Miss Martian concentrates. A grapple line descends from the sky. It's fastened to Robin's utility belt. The lightning symbol is pushed onto Kid Flash's chest in the center. It activates the new stealth gear. It turns black, which doesn't reflect sunlight. In place of the vivid yellow and red he typically wears. Kid grinned and asked, "Is this cool or what?" "It is impressive." Miss Martian grinned. She shifts into a red and black bodysuit as she concentrates. "Wow, that works too," Kid said with a grin. The child looks at Superboy. "Hey Super, sure you don't want to try the new stealth tech?" Across his chest, Superboy folded his arms. "No tights, no capes, no offense." Dreamily, Miss Martian sighed. "It totally works for you." Superboy raises an eyebrow as he turns to face her. She lifts the hood of her cloak and turns invisible to conceal her embarrassment, saying, "In that you can totally work in those clothes." Naruto had his headgear adjusted. Superboy attached to the grappling line. "Why? I can make the landing," Naruto asserts. "It isn't a question." Superboy attaches the grappling line and nods. "I am well aware of your abilities. You are correct. A jump from this height will not harm you, but it will cause a tremor the moment you impact with the ground. This is a covert mission. A seismic event will blow our cover. It appears as though a hole has formed in the sky. 3 things fell from the hole. Superboy, Kid, and Robin touched down lightly. Miss Martian swooped out, hovering just above the earth. Aqualad, this is Hubby. We are at drop zone B. Report location and estimated time of arrival to our location, Hubby murmured. "I am still a few minutes away. I'll use the GPS to track your location and meet up with you all along the way," Aqualad said. Hubby nods. He signals to leave by raising his hand and saying, "Copy that." Superboy jumps up beside Robin into the branch, leaping to the next branch. Hubby takes the lead with ease. Robin leaps to a branch above, grabs it, spins around, and leaps to the next branch. Superboy leaps once and lands beside Hubby. The branch has a small crack in it. Hubby screams, "Lightly center your weight so that the impact is lightened." As she leaps forward, Superboy observes as Hubby-sensei touches down, causing the branch to hardly move. As instructed, the child runs through the forest, staying in the shadows. Additionally, he takes care to avoid outpacing the others. Miss Martian takes up the rear and flies in the back because she is invisible. No one can see her. Robin raises his arms ahead. A holographic image displays multiple red dots. Yelling and gunfire soon fill the air as someone says, "I got 2 groups up ahead." Ahead, Bane starts shooting at the Cobra followers. The supervillain is demanding his factories be returned. A week has passed since these Cobra idiots were able to evict his factories by force. He had no idea what they were doing with his Venom factories or what they wanted. He didn't care about it himself. He will stop at nothing to regain his island, which is all he wants. Behind Bane, a shadow appeared. Hubby puts his hand against Bane's back. Lightning style. 1000 volts. Bane's body is ablaze with lightning. Bane's mouth is covered by a hand to keep the others from hearing his screams. Robin kills 2 Cobra cultists by descending from above. 3 of Bane's men easily lose their weapons to a kid traveling at high speeds. The men are confused as they look around, unable to see where their weapons have disappeared. To the 3 men who lost their weapons to Kid are grabbed by an unseen force and slammed into one another unconscious. All 3 fell to the ground. "Hey," Robin says with a smile as he waves to 3 Cobra cultists. Their weapons are raised. The Superboy descends behind them. He seizes 2 of them and throws them into a tree after slamming them into one another. The lone Cobra cultist turns to face Superboy with his weapon. The Cobra cult members are knocked down and rendered unconscious by a blow from behind. Overlooking the Cobra cultists is Aqualad. The men of Bane and the Cobra are all bound. I recognize those uniforms, they're part of the cult of the Cobra, replied Robin. Hubby gives a nod. Yes. The question is, why is Cobra stealing the venom formula? Who knows? Wally shrugs. Miss Martian takes a step forward. Approaching a Cobra cultist, Hubby says, I can try reading their minds. With his weapon raised, Aqualad sprays the Cobra cultists with water. The man rudely awakens with glowing eyes. Miss Martian kneels before him despite his best efforts. He lacks any mental training. Cobra is here creating a new venom formula that is even stronger than the one Bane has. It seems that Cobra has even used the new formula to create some type of monster. She nods her head. Hubby puts the cultist back to sleep by kicking him in the temple. Aqualad gives Hubby-sensei a look. What do we do now? Our primary mission is complete now. I am adding a new mission. Our mission is to obtain a sample of this new venom formula and destroy the factory making it. Tells Hubby. He looks at the Cobra cultists who are bound and unconscious. She tilts her head curiously and says, Miss Martian, please turn around. The factory. 3 people in black clothing and red cloaks approach the factory. The factory is the direct destination of the 3 Cobras. When they arrived at the factory, the 2 were met by 2 Cobra guards. Name and identification, the guard commands. The words, no time. Bane and his men, are followed by a nearby explosion with their weapons raised. The Cobra turns around. Hurry, call for reinforcements. Right. The guard says, reaching for his phone. Teams 2 and 3 move to the east side of the factory. The guard is knocked unconscious by a punch to the face. The other was also knocked out by a punch before he could react to his ear. Cobra puts up his hand. Robin, kid, fall back to Miss Martian's position. We are in. Hubby said. Aqualad and Superboy take off their cloaks. The 2 start to conceal the guards' bodies. Take a break before donning his goggles. The child grins. He can see that there are 6 guards in front of him thanks to the infrared feature. I'll handle this. His movements are so fast that he blurs since they are deprived of their weapons. The guards never stand a chance. 3 explosive bird-a-rangs are thrown by Robin at various locations throughout the factory. The bird-a-rangs burst a few seconds later. Everyone inside and around the factory can hear and feel the explosions. Robin smiles and says, I think that is good enough for a distraction. Oh yeah, kid says, standing beside Robin. Much better than sneaking around in someone else's clothes. Robin stops. Sensei and the others are in time to meet up with Miss Martian. The factory. A crate is where Aqualad hides. He looks at Superboy hiding on the other side of the room. They're both in their places after applying an explosive seal to one of the crates. Aqualad proceeds to another crate and repeats the process. Superboy tags the walls with an explosive device. Hubby, who is observing Cobra load up the new venom formula, is the target of the 2 young heroes. Cobra is here, Hubby murmurs. Cobra? Superboy asks. Aqualad responds. The leader of the cultists and a worldwide terrorist. Hubby lifts his hands to his link for communication. Radio is full of static. Let's hope Miss Martian connects our minds, or we are operating as 2 separate teams. Take a break. Robin discovers a computer-filled room taking care of the single Cobra follower is easy. He hacks into the mainframe. His fingers flying over the console. Robin doesn't even look up as the child rushes into the room behind Kid. Miss Martian flies in. What you got? Kid interrogated. It is a chemical formula. I am guessing it involves venom, replied Robin. Over Robin's shoulder, the child peers. This one is venom and that one is woe. That is the blockbuster formula from Cadmus mixed correctly. The 2 are 3 times more powerful and permanent. How did Cobra get its hand on blockbuster from Cadmus? Robin gets up and touches his communication link, saying, Cobra's buyer must also be its supplier, using the cult to create a blockbuster super venom. Robin to Aqualad, we got a static. Miss Martian grinned. She closes her eyes and reaches out to Superboy, Aqualad, and Hubby, saying, I'll connect our minds. Sensei, this is Miss Martian. Can you hear me? Good job, Miss Martian. Realizing our communication is down and connecting our minds, Hubby responds with pride. Miss Martian smiles. What did you all find out? The child then begins to speak. Cobra has used the blockbuster formula combining with the venom formula to create a new formula that is 3 times more powerful and permanent. This stuff is no joke. A pause. Robin, I want you to download that file if possible, then erase it from the mainframe. That formula is too dangerous to let out of this factory. We are burying this factory and the formula with it, Hubby says. Robin smiles and says, consider it done. Miss Martian turns her head and says, oh no. As the room's doors open, a cult of Cobras enters. The alarm is activated by the Cobra pressing a button on his arm with a single blow. The child dashes forward and knocks out the Cobra. Kid remarks, damn, make it quick, Robin, as he sees other people approaching. Take a break, Aqualad remarked. It's a massive shipment. Yeah, but they are only taking the new stuff. They're not even touching the stock over here, replied Superboy. Hubby gives a nod. Why touch the old formula when the new formula is so much more powerful? Superboy raised his head. Helicopter is coming. In front of the gathered cult, a cargo helicopter touches down. Sportsmaster is the ramp that descends and exits the helicopter. The antagonist approaches the extreme cultist's leader. Lord Cobra, Sportsmaster said. When Cobra said, Sportsmaster, the shipment is ready. Shimmer comes forward with a box in her hand. When she opens it, 8 vials containing a blue-purple chemical substance are visible. A vial is picked up and examined by Sportsmaster. The new Cobra venom? The antagonist asked. Cobra points to the muscular giant 10 feet tall who is standing behind him. A complete success. Your friends will not be disappointed. Sportsmaster declared, this is a game changer. We can finally compete against the League. The alarm begins to sound. Cobra's eyes narrow. Intruders? Hidden shadow snake hands. A dozen snakes encircle 6 cultists as they fly out from behind the crates, running straight toward Cobra and Sportsmaster. Hubby emerges from behind the crates. Sportsmaster pulls out a lance and throws it directly at Hubby. Sportsmaster has to sidestep as a kunai slashes through the lance as it flies through the air. The new Cobra venom created monster, Mammoth, rushes in Hubby's direction. A shadow descends from the sky. Superboy lifts both arms and drives Mammoth into the ground. Face down, cultists of the Cobra point their weapons at Hubby. The cultists' weapons are knocked out of their hands by 2 water whips. 3 Cobra members are smashed by Aqualad, who transforms the water into a pair of maces with a roar. Mammoth punches Superboy, sending him flying into the crates. Between Sportsmaster and Cobra, Hubby can be seen. Both villains are sent flying in opposite directions by a punch and a kick. Hubby gives the telepathic command. Kid and Robin take down the cultists. Aqualad and Miss Martian handles the beast. Oh yeah, this is what I am talking about, Kid says as he rushes past and knocks out a number of cult members. Robin grins and says, I bet I can take down more than you. 2 cultists are eliminated when Robin flips forward and delivers a spin kick. Superboy leaps forward, deflects a blow, and then flips Mammoth over his back, causing the creature to fall backward onto the ground. A pair of crates fly through the air, smashing into Mammoth, and Miss Martian uses her telekinetic powers to power another crate while flying in the air above Mammoth and Superboy. All power, no style, smirks Superboy. Leaping back, Naruto sensei taught him how to control his strength instead of fighting like a wild, untamed beast. Mammoth loses his attention on Superboy as he glances up at Miss Martian. Superboy hit him over here, Aqualad yells, and Superboy charges forward, delivering a powerful right hook that sends Mammoth flying in his direction. Aqualad put his hands on the water's surface, and as the lightning passes through his arm and into the water, the tattoos on his arm glow. The water conducts the lightning, electrocuting Mammoth, and he lets out a deep scream before the beast falls to the ground unconscious. The 2 of you should surrender, Hubby says after blocking a kick and then throwing Cobra backwards with a palm thrust. He then spins around, batting away a spear, and his knee strikes Sportsmaster in the gut before an uppercut lifts Sportsmaster off the ground and knocks him to the ground. Hubby says icily, you're not even on my level. A mere insect thinks he can take on a god? Cobra glares. Hubby responds, I am positive that you are no god. A smirk emerges beneath Sportsmaster's mask as he fires, and Hubby dodges quickly as Sportsmaster fires at him. Cobra moves behind Hubby, and a kick knocks him forward by striking him in the back. No, Robin exclaims, as the plasma blast pierces Hubby's chest and exits through the back, eyes widen in horror. A frozen child says, no, sensei. Aqualad shouts, and Miss Martian covers her mouth with her hand while her eyes well up with tears. Oh no. A plasma blast strikes Superboy in the chest, sending him flying backwards as he yells in rage and charges forward. Sportsmaster remarks, looks like we made the kids upset. Such is the price when one challenges a god, Cobra says with a slight smirk. I'll make you both pay. Robin pulls out a metal pole that turns into a staff. Aqualad makes 2 water swords. Kid fixes his goggles with hard eyes. Miss Martian and Superboy are enraged and prepared to fight. Aqualad says, remember we work as a team, Earth style. Inner decapitation. Hubby emerges from the ground behind Sportsmaster, unharmed, while a kick to the temple knocks Sportsmaster unconscious. A pair of hands leaps out of the ground, grabbing Sportsmaster by the ankles. Sportsmaster's eyes widen as he is pulled into the ground up to his neck. Cobra squints and says, impossible. Hubby stands composedly and asks, what's wrong? Do you feel afraid? Formation of Team Delta. After a moment, Cobra turns to see that he is encircled. The child notices a ruined log where Hubby was shot. What? It is your move, Cobra, Hubby declares while spinning 2 kunai. Superboy grinned and said, please try to fight us. Hubby pulls Sportsmaster out of the ground as Cobra glares at him and says, another day. He drops a smoke pellet onto the ground, and when the cloud of smoke clears, Cobra is no longer there. Hubby says, "Time to go," and a ram seal is formed. The factory's explosive seals activate, causing a massive explosion that can be seen for miles around the island. An invisible Martian ship then takes off. Unknown place. Cobra holds out a vial of the cobra venom and says, "Unfortunately, all data on the formula has been lost." He is standing in front of multiple monitors that display images of light. "It is possible to reverse engineer the formula from that vial," said a figure with a strong French accent. "Is it not possible?" The voice said. "The news of what happened Santa Prista comes after Cadmus and Mr. Twister." "Once as happenstance," said a new, deeper voice. "It's a coincidence twice, however. Enemy action occurs 3 times additionally. Those who oppose the light must be condemned." Mount Justice. Naruto listens to the debriefing from a distance while Batman stands in front of the group of young heroes. It was just a straightforward reconnaissance mission. The young heroes puff out their chests in a slight smirk and smile, saying, "I have reviewed the reports and I must say that you all did admirably. You followed your orders and were able to find out what is going on in Santa Prista without revealing your presence. You all adjusted when the mission's parameters were altered. Most plans don't work out as expected, and occasionally things change. The mission's success depends on how you respond to these changes." As Batman exits the room, Naruto moves forward and says, "Batman is right. You all did a great job. The mission went more smoothly than I had anticipated. However, don't assume that every mission will proceed in that manner. I will not be with you all the time in my absence. I have designated Robin as the team leader. If Robin is unable to join the mission or becomes incapacitated, you will be the second in command, Aqualad." With a smile, Robin says, "I won't let you down." "Thank you, it is a great honor," Aqualad affirms. "I'm impressed. As a reward, take tomorrow off," Naruto says, turning to leave the room. Smiling, the child says, "Oh yeah, we so kick ass." With a smile, Miss Martian says, "Congratulations, Robin and Aqualad." "Thanks," smirks Robin. Naruto stands a short distance away and says, "That is good, but let's test its strength." He flashes through the hand seals too quickly for Calder to follow, and he focuses on making the water in front of him take the shape of a large dome that encloses his entire body. Fire release. Dragon fire breath. A stream of extremely hot flames shoots from Naruto's mouth in the direction of the water dome. When the flames hit the water dome, Calder grits his teeth, sweat starts to run down his face, and soon steam starts to rise as the water evaporates. When he can no longer contain it, he dives out of the way as the fire engulfs the area where he was standing. "That's excellent," Naruto remarks. "You held the dome for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Calder remarked, "It felt much shorter. The purpose of this exercise is to teach you more defensive techniques," Naruto says, taking out his book. "The most adaptable element is water." With a snap of the fingers, it can be both defensive and offensive, constantly adapting to the circumstances. You must be like that. He snaps his fingers. "I have a thought. A particular style of martial arts should be beneficial to you." Calder gets curious. "Really?" "Yes, I'll need to talk to a friend, but I'm confident she'll concur," Naruto says. The Batcave. Since taking over as team leader of Team Hebia, Team Snake is a pretty unique name for a team. Robin has been training harder than usual, and Batman observes this behavior. As a trained assassin who has undoubtedly killed a lot of people, Batman doesn't trust Hubby or Naruto Uzumaki. Most of the criminals or supervillains who fight against Naruto end up dead, paralyzed, or in a permanent coma. If it weren't for the fact that Naruto is known to sacrifice his life to protect civilians, he would never have been offered a membership in the League. Superman and Batman make sure to never call upon Naruto unless no other members are available. The idea that Naruto should be placed in charge of the team of young heroes came from Canary. A team that fights in the shadows needs a teacher who is an expert in the shadows. Although Batman will never admit it out loud, Naruto is the best at hiding in the shadows, and he agreed to offer him the position because he wanted to learn more about his skills. Naruto knew everything about the other League members, including the majority of their secret identities, but no one, not even Canary, knew that much about Naruto, making him a serious threat. However, in just 3 weeks, Batman observes that Robin has greatly improved under Naruto's guidance, both in terms of his fighting skills and his ability to move more fluidly, and both Flash and Aquaman have told him that their own sidekicks have also improved. "I will continue to watch him," Batman vowed the Metropolis. When a bus goes out of control and collides with one of the beams supporting the Metropolis bridge, multiple cars collide as they attempt to avoid the bus. 2 steel wires break, making the bridge unstable, and the bus tilts over the edge while the children inside scream. From his location in Wayne Enterprise, Bruce Wayne looks out the window. He has been traveling to Metropolis on business, and if Batman shows up while Bruce Wayne is there, it will appear suspicious. His head turns, and he sees a blur fly across the water. A hard force shakes the bridge, nearly destabilizing it, but Superman uses his super strength to hold it up and then begins using his heat vision to reinforce the steel beams underneath it. Superman flies across the water, coming up underneath the unstable bridge. With great force, Superboy lands on the bridge, sees the bus nearly falling off, and rushes to it with a grit of his teeth. He tries to pull it back up, but it starts to fall forward, and then a force from the front of the bridge effortlessly raises the bus. "I had it," Superboy declared, turning to face Superman. "In any case, I volunteered to assist. Your landing nearly caused the bridge to become unstable," Superman said. With a frown, Superboy says, "Yeah, but I didn't. You must exercise greater caution. The full scope of your abilities is unknown to us." Superboy says, "Well, maybe you could help me with that, with hope." After hesitating, Superman says, "Batman has that covered." "Yeah, I know. This is Superman Green Arrow. What's going on?" "No, I'm not busy," Superman said. Interrupting Superboy, Superman looks at Superboy and says, "I have to go, Superboy." He then takes off. "Send me the coordinates." Superboy casts a furious glance at the ground. "Mount Justice. You're not really understanding any of this, are you?" Robin smiles. Naruto looks irritated and says, "I detest technology. It merely provides an excuse for indolence." "Not at all. We all benefit from technology then. Describe the reasons behind the rise in the obesity rate during the last 10 years. People create machines to do everything for them, which is why. Are you interested in learning how to turn on the computer or what?" asks Robin. Massaging his temples, Naruto glances away and gives a slight nod. A chuckle escapes Robin as he presses the power button. The computer turns out simple. Touching the back of his head, Naruto says, "Seems like a waste of time." Robin says, "Okay, seriously, I can't work with you anymore, Sensei," and leaves. The computer blinks, waiting for him to enter the password, and Naruto scratches the back of his head, forgetting where is Robin. Naruto lets out a sigh, needing to figure out how to comprehend all this technology. "Has Superboy returned yet?" Megan asked, flying into the room with a worried expression on her face. "Who cares about him when you could be hanging out with me?" laughed Kid. "I am sure Superboy is fine," says Calder, shaking his head. Superboy enters the cave as the portal opens and asks, "How was Metropolis?" Megan grinned. Superboy angrily said, "I don't want to talk about it," and he walked right by them. Megan is stopped when Naruto raises his hand and says, "I will speak with him." Take a break. Superboy is hammering on a steel training post when Naruto walks into the training room. "Want to talk about it?" Naruto asks. "What are you talking about?" "I'm all right," Superboy responds. Naruto circles the steel training post to face Superboy directly. "I've known you for a short while, and during that time I've observed that you have a deep reservoir of rage within you. Why are you so upset?" "I told you I am fine." Superboy punches the steel training post, shattering it in two. Naruto sighs and says, "Well, come find me if you ever need someone to talk to. I'll show you how to control your anger and use it for positive purposes. Don't damage my training posts," Naruto says, waving as he leaves. Take a break. Canary and the Martian Manhunter arrive at Mount Justice. "Uncle Jean." Megan runs over to give her uncle a hug while grinning. "I chose to come see you since I had some free time. How are you?" Jean smiles. "Things are a little rough, but I am learning." "That is all I can ask," says Jean with a smile. Canary approaches Naruto, who looks at the bandages covering her right bicep before stopping to ask her what's going on. When Superboy enters the room, still irate, Naruto lets out a sigh as Superboy avoids eye contact and looks away, saying, "Is there something wrong?" Canary asks. "Batman to the cave," he says, disregarding everything else, as a screen featuring his face appears. Green Arrow and Black Canary were attacked 5 hours ago by a new threat. Batman clarified that the attacker had the ability to research and then replicate the skills and abilities of its adversaries. Arrow called in reinforcements, which almost proved disastrous as our foe gained more and more powers with each new combatant, reads the caption as a smaller screen shows the attacker defeating several superheroes at once. "Whoa, a being with the powers of the entire League, kidnapped." In the end, it took 8 League members 4 hours to defeat and dismantle the android, stated Batman. Surprised, Robin says, "An android? The Amaro, who made it?" "Good guess, Robin, but Red Tornado doesn't think so," Batman replied. "It was Martian Manhunter who said, the technology bears the mark of Professor Evo." "Evo?" Aqualad repeated, "but Ivo's dead." When Canary said, "That is what we thought as well." Naruto begins, saying, "Never assume anything unless there is a body to confirm it." The threat isn't permanently neutralized. Batman went on rebuilding. It is still possible for this reason. We are shipping the parts in 2 trucks to 2 different Star Lab locations in Boston and New York for prompt assessment. Every safety measure is being followed in case Evo or anybody else tries to take its remains. 4 more decoy trucks are being dispatched following the trucks carrying the parts. You will divide into undercover groups. Yes, road trip, grins the child. So we'll take care of your trash now? Superboy said. You had better things to do, Batman answered. I have the coordinates, let's leave, Naruto says. The county of Litchfield. There are 6 armored trucks parked close to one another, and Superman watches as the android's head and torso are put in one truck while the rest of its body is put in another. The Man of Steel turns around and uses his X-ray vision to see the group of young heroes, including his own clone. Superboy looks up, but he looks away, and his eyes light up with anger. After hearing that every truck is prepared to leave, Green Arrow nods to Batman, who raises his hand to signal the trucks to leave. The trucks then start up and leave for the highway. As Red Tornado, Captain Atom, and Flash depart, Batman puts a hand on Superman's shoulder and says, "We need to talk," just as Superman is ready to take off. The 6 young heroes ride out after the trucks, and Naruto says, "No, I am the one who will do the talking," as he approaches the 2 heroes and signals them. "My team can handle this on their own." "What do you want to talk about?" Superman frowns. With a composed expression, Naruto addresses Superman, saying, "I want you to get over whatever problems you have with Superboy." "I don't have." Superman narrows his eyes. Batman observes the 2 composedly, and Naruto responds, "Yes, you do. He's not your clone. Although he was made using your DNA, I can promise you that he is completely different from you. The only similarity between you 2 is your physical appearance. Therefore, don't feel obligated to treat him like family. Even better, avoid him completely. You're too afraid to keep an eye on him, so I will." Batman and Naruto watch as Superman takes off. "Good, then I leave it in your hands." Superman straightens up. With a narrowed gaze, Batman says, "Superboy is going to need his father." Naruto looks at Batman and says, "Or what? Will he end up like you?" Batman squints his eyes and says, "Avoid my pupil or, as you so want, you'll be able to witness the full extent of my abilities." Naruto disappears in a whirl of leaves. Superboy and Robin. Superboy is approached by Robin, who says, "If dislike is the opposite of like, is disaster the antithesis of aster, then?" Superboy remains silent, saying, "I guess you're not feeling the aster because instead of things going wrong, they go right." "What's the matter?" Robin inquired. "It's nothing," Superboy responds. "Hey, listen, I understand that being around Superman must be difficult. Actually, I'm not sure, but you should know that we're available to you if you ever need to talk. Friends first, team second," Robin says with a smile. Superboy grinned and said, "Thanks, looks like we have company," says Robin as he and Superboy look up to see flying robotic monkeys amid the roar of laughter. Kid Flash, Miss Martian, and Aqualad. "This mission is amazing." Kid grinned and said, "Think we can keep the bikes?" "Do you believe Superboy is doing okay?" "I didn't read his mind, but I could feel anger flowing off him," Miss Martian said, expressing concern. With a comforting grin, Aqualad says, "Superboy is aware that we are his friends. Give him space and time. He will speak with us if he wants to." "I'm Robin. Flying robot monkeys are attacking us," says Robin. As Aqualad, Miss Martian, and Kid Flash look up to see flying robot monkeys, laughter erupts. "Oh come on," Kid exclaims. "Robot monkeys? That is really pathetic." "Keep Formation Alpha safe," Aqualad commands Mount Justice. Red Tornado appears next to Naruto, who is standing in front of the monitor. He had tapped into his team's communication channels to learn that the shipment containing the android's parts was being attacked, which was an unexpected complication. "Are you going to help?" "You should have no trouble getting to their location from here," the superhero says. "No," folding his arms across his chest, Naruto says, "If I am constantly watching them, they will never grow. This mission will demonstrate to me their actual growth." "I understand," Red Tornado nods. Naruto is confident that his team can manage this unexpected disruption. "It is not appropriate to run off by yourself." As Naruto stands in front of Superboy, he says, "I expect better discipline from you." "I understand," Superboy nods. Naruto turns to face Robin and says, "You did a good job figuring out how to find the parts that were stolen. But your failure to notify the League might have been disastrous. Luckily, Evo was unable to fix the android completely. Otherwise, you might not have been able to remove it. Keep in mind that asking for assistance is never a sign of weakness." Robin's eyes take on a guilty expression. "It's better to call for help than to watch your friends and comrades die in front of you because of your silly pride." "I really didn't have to. Green Arrow watched us the whole time," says Robin, drawing an arrow. Robin and Kid are shocked when Naruto says, "This isn't Green Arrow's arrow. It seems someone else was watching the fight," he says. Robin and Kid bump fists, and Kid smirks, saying, "Oh yeah, Speedy still has our backs." This is not Speedy's arrow either. Naruto looks at the arrow's tip, which is meant to kill Speedy, and Green Arrow don't use these kinds of arrows. Speedy's fighting style could have changed, but Naruto didn't think it would change this much. "For now, that is all. Superboy, stay behind," Naruto said, dismissing you. Superboy, who doesn't understand why Naruto is staying behind, says, "I want you to dress casually tomorrow," as Kid and Robin exit the room. "We're heading into the city," Naruto declares. "What? Why?" Superboy asks. Superboy is left perplexed as Naruto passes him and says, "Meet you outside at noon." Next day. At noon, Naruto, dressed in a simple white t-shirt, baggy blue shorts, and black sneakers, is waiting for Superboy. When he steps outside, he looks at Superboy, who is dressed in a blue t-shirt, white pants, and blue sneakers, and asks, "How is it still casual to wear that face mask?" Superboy asks. "Well, I am trying to bring it back in style," Naruto responds. "Anyway, how come we're out here?" Superboy queries. "We're going into town to have some fun," Naruto says as he begins to walk. "Hurry up." Superboy cocks his head and says, "I must have misheard. What are we doing?" Naruto turns to Superboy and prods him in the chest, saying, "Listen, consider this a private mission. We're going to call you Connor Kent out here. Consider it your codename. In this manner, people won't know who you really are when they inquire." "I don't think so," says Superboy. Squinting, Superboy backs off in terror as Naruto narrows his eyes and says, "Please go if you think you can take me. If not, I advise you to follow." He turns and begins to walk in the direction of the city. Superboy mutters as he follows Naruto. "It might be better if you smile and wave back," Naruto says as he and Connor head down the sidewalk toward Happy Harbor, where they are met with strange looks. Connor, who is officially making his public debut, looks around as a couple of girls wave and smile at him. "Why? I don't know them," Connor responds. Naruto looks ahead and says, "Listen, if anyone in this world understands you, it is me. I was taken from my village when I was 1 year old and raised to be a weapon." Superboy looks at Naruto in shock. "Unlike you, no one rescued me. For the next 14 years, I trained under a man who never showed me love, and I complied with all of his requests in his name. I have indeed murdered men, women, and even children. My hands are so covered in blood that it's beyond your comprehension." Gulping, Connor realizes that he never in his life would have guessed Naruto-sensei was a murderer because Naruto is always so composed and in control. On Santa Prista, he defeated Sportsmaster without causing any significant harm to the villain. "Even though you were designed to be a weapon, you are not one," Naruto says, turning to face Connor. "You're not Superman's clone either. It is up to you which route you take. In all honesty, I think you could be better than Superman if you can effectively manage your anger." "Do you think so?" Connor murmurs. Naruto responds, "I don't say things I don't mean." Mount Justice as they practice Tai Chi katas in the training room, Canary says, "Focus," as Aqualad falters while attempting to transition between katas. Tai Chi is a martial art style that is all about finding your center, Canary says with a smile. She exhales a tiny breath and waves her arm in a broad circle, saying, "One must connect with nature and channel its energy all around them." Aqualad smiles. "I am still a bit confused on how this will help me with my training other than improve my fighting abilities." "It's because you're inflexible." Canary turns to face Aqualad and says, "Come at me. You need to learn to relax and let things flow around you. Hit me as hard as you can." "Did you see how I flowed around your movements?" Aqualad runs forward, arm raised, and throws a punch, but Canary easily pushes it downward, twirling around to his back. Aqualad spins around with a kick, but she ducks down low, going under it. A rear leg sweep knocks Aqualad to his ass. Canary hovers her palm an inch over his neck. "I attacked you with your own attacks. This is what Naruto wants you to learn," Canary says, grinning as he helps him up, "because I went from defensive to offensive and from offensive to defense with ease." He has a newfound respect for the female hero. "Water is the most versatile of elements," he says. Aqualad never even came close to hitting her. She had been teaching him those moves, constantly adapting to the circumstances. He is starting to grasp what Naruto-sensei is trying to teach him. It is made to go from defense to offense and from offense to defense instantly, Naruto-sensei said. "I don't mean to offend, but why are you teaching me?" Aqualad asks. "Naruto is stronger than me in every way," Canary smirks, "but I have a lot more martial arts training than he does to defeat his opponents. He uses ninjutsu and his exceptional speed to win my fights. I rely on my martial arts skills and the instruction I got from my mentors." With a nod, Aqualad says, "I understand. Joyful Harbor, arcades. Watch your right," Naruto says as he lifts his gun and fires multiple rounds. Too easy. Connor smirks as he eliminates 2 more terrorists. One of the tanks rolls up on the 2 the characters in Naruto and Connor are forced to hide behind 2 overturned park benches. The boss is standing atop the tank as more terrorists arrive. Naruto says, "I'll take the small fries, and let's go of the pedal." His persona emerges firing at the terrorists. Connor emerges to confront the boss. Bazooka. Connor drops to the ground when Naruto fires at the missile. It explodes. Naruto grins while wearing a mask. "I got you covered." As Naruto and Connor take control of Time Crisis 4, others begin to assemble and observe. Not even a single blow is delivered to Naruto despite taking a few blows. Connor has never died. The first stage is won by the 2. Naruto winks and says, "Oh yeah, still the best new high score." Connor smiles. A glint of challenge comes into his eyes. "I'll beat that in the next stage." Through his mask, Naruto smiles. "Think so, huh? Let's do it." "Man, you 2 are awesome, mad skills." The 2 left the arcade. An hour later, Connor waves at a couple of girls with a slight smile. Naruto grins while wearing a mask. The pair makes their way to the food court. Connor goes to McDonald's, while Naruto gets some Japanese food. "I almost feel bad. No way is anyone ever going to beat our high scores," Naruto says. "It'll take them more than $1 to do it," says Connor with a smile. Although it is concealed by his mask, Naruto grins. "Plan on giving those girls a call?" "Probably not," Connor shrugs. "Be hard to go on a date when I am going out on missions all the time." "I understand. Still, it is good to go out and let loose every now and then. Next time we get some free time we can come back out if you want," Naruto responds. Connor nods his head. "All right, how about going over to Six Flags? I heard a couple guys in there talking about the new roller coasters." Naruto nods and says, "Sounds good to me." Connor's enjoyment of his leisure time pleases Naruto. Everybody needs a way to express themselves. Kid Flash and Robin use their disguises to attend school and interact with other kids their own age. Aquaman and Aqualad spend time together. Miss Martian uses cooking and baking as a form of self-expression. The only person without a way to decompress is Superboy. Constant missions and training are bad for one's mental health. Orochimaru was aware of this, which is why he had civilian girls, or kunoichi, visit Naruto's bedroom. Following each mission, Orochimaru forced Naruto to use sex as a stress-relieving mechanism rather than providing him with friends or allies to spend time with. Naruto lost his virginity at the age of 10 and started engaging in regular sexual relations. "Find another outlet for him. You are not going to encourage him to have sex with random girls," said Canary. To which Naruto replied, "I was thinking prostitutes." Canary's eyes narrowed. "No," Naruto let out a sigh. He leaves a furious Canary with the words, "Okay, I'll take him out into the city and see if I can find something he likes. Sex is easier." "No, I am going to sign you up for boxing lessons at the local gym," Naruto says. "Boxing?" frowns Connor. "I'll kill the other kids?" Naruto gives a nod. "This will be a good way for you to learn to have better control over your powers. There will be times when you fight regular criminals with no superpowers. You'll need to learn to control that strength so you don't kill them. Plus, boxing is a style that'll suit you best. A good strong style that will go well with your desire to punch everything." "Okay, but don't get mad if I punch someone in the face," smirks Connor. "You'll have to learn how to act as well. Can't stand there taking punches without any effect," Naruto says. Connor moans. "Or you can spar with me. I need a good punching bag." Connor says, "No thanks, I'll take the lessons," without hesitation. Shrugging, Naruto says, "Pity, the watchtower." Canary's arms are crossed over her chest. He isn't going to like this. Green Arrow furrows his brow. It doesn't matter what he likes or doesn't like. She is safer with the team, and perhaps we can lead her down a different path. "I don't like it either, but Arrow makes a good point. Leaving her alone will guarantee she becomes a threat in the future," Batman responds. "I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I am saying that he isn't going to like it at all whether he admits it or not. He has become attached to those kids. He sees them as his students. You're intentionally putting them at risk. Pray he doesn't kick both your asses too badly," Canary says with a smile. Batman starts to leave. Green Arrow gives a comforting smile and turns to leave, saying, "He will do as asked." Canary gives the 2 idiots a shake of her head. Green Arrow and Batman are getting way too cocky. They're idiots if they believe Naruto will comply with their requests. Even though she respects their skills and their accomplishments over the years, she lets out a sigh, knowing that she must talk to him before they do. There's no other way to avoid a bloodbath. Mount Justice. As Naruto and Superboy arrive at the base, Megan observes Superboy smiles genuinely, and her eyes light up with surprise. "Lesson starts tomorrow. Be ready to go at 9, Naruto says. Superboy waves. "Yeah, and turns to leave. Megan flies over to Superboy and asks, if you don't mind me asking, where did the two of you go? Superboy gives a shrug. He leaves after saying, we were hanging out. Megan's head tilts. What does that signify? Naruto approaches the screen. He scans the console with his fingers to see if there are any messages from the League. It is the only use of the supercomputer that he is familiar with. He turns his head at the sound of footsteps. He looks back and sees Canary, Batman, and Green Arrow. Naruto is approached by Batman. We have a new member that we are adding to the team. She is Green Arrow's new copyright ga copyright. To which Naruto responds, my team, I'll determine whether or not she joins. Green Arrow scowls. This is not open for debate. I was offered to train the team at my discretion. All changes are to be run through me. Canary smiles. I told you he wouldn't like it. Batman's eyes narrow. The League has already agreed to add her to the team. He says, she will be joining the team. Naruto advances. Careful who you give orders to. Be a shame if the identities of the entire League are leaked to the public. Might hurt business at Wayne Industries. Batman stiffens. Is that a threat? Canary moves in between them. Back off, Naruto. Take the girl. She needs someone to guide her down the right path right now. She has the wrong role model to follow. She needs a new one or she'll take the wrong path. Naruto fixes his gaze on Canary's. Then he turns to face Green Arrow and Batman. If she passes my test, then she can join, and don't bother arguing. I know everything about the League. You can't force me to leave without trying to wipe my mind first. I dare you to try. He turns and walks away. According to Green Arrow, can we trust him? Canary frowns and brushes past the two, saying, idiots just had to try and be tough. I am starting to think you two aren't that smart. Batman notices a seal on his chest. When he looks down, he does a good job of concealing his surprise. The seal goes unnoticed by Green Arrow. Naruto placed it there when? The following day, Naruto is waiting for Robin. When he gets there first, the room also contains Green Arrow and Batman. His gaze fell on a pretty blonde with a bow on her back and the Green Arrow symbol on her green spandex suit. He gives Naruto a glance. New member? Robin asks. Probationary member. I'll decide whether or not she stays after the mission, Naruto responds. The girl's eyes narrow. Since when do you get to make that decision? Robin smiles. Sensei is the leader of the team. He calls the shots. Batman scowls. She will be joining the team. Naruto gives Batman a quick look. I'll make that decision. Superboy, Miss Martian, and Aqualad arrive after glancing at the blonde. The three turn to Naruto to get an explanation. The fact that all of the young heroes, including his own copyright ga copyright, are looking to Naruto for answers right away bothers Batman. The other team members are expected to look up to him as the senior member with a triumphant expression. Naruto looks at Batman. Identification B06. Kid Flash. Wally fell face down after tripping and saying, the Wallman is here. Time to get this party start. Batman and Green Arrow remained expressionless as the beach ball bounced past them. Ed, Wally concluded. Robin smiles and says, mission, beach plans got cancelled. A grin spread across the blonde's face. She teases, Wallman, huh? I love your costume. Wally grinned. He looks at his team and asks the girl, who is this? Artemis, the newest member of the team, Artemis replied. Kid Flash, I've never heard of you, Wally said with a smile. The child frowns. What happened to Speedy? Identification recognized. B07 Speedy. Well, first thing is I no longer go by Speedy. Call me Red Arrow, Red Arrow replied. Green Arrow's expression is one of surprise. Roy, you look replaceable, Red Arrow concluded as he moved forward. It's not like that. You told me you were going solo, Arrow replied. With a furious expression on his face, Red says, so why waste time looking for a replacement? Does she even know how to use that bow? Artemis gives a displeased glance. Yes, she does. Kid cried out, who are you? I'm his niece. She's my niece. Artemis and Arrow exchange simultaneous responses. Naruto doesn't show any emotion. Both of them are lying. And he knows it. He finds it annoying since he now realizes that he cannot rely on Artemis. He is not given the complete story by Green Arrow or Batman. Robin smiles. Another niece. She is not your replacement. We have always wanted you on the team and we have no quota on archers, Aqualad replied. And if we did, you know who we would pick, Kid replied. Artemis frowned. Whatever, Baywatch, I'm here to stay. Aqualad puts a hand on Red Arrow's shoulders as he turns to walk away. You came to us for a reason, Aqualad acknowledged. Yeah, a reason known as Dr. Roland Roquette, Red replied. Robin's recognition glowed in her eyes. Several pictures of the attractive professor are shown alongside the caption, nanotech technology genius who worked at Miami University and Star Labs. She disappeared 2 weeks ago. Abducted 2 weeks ago, Red Arrow clarified. by the League of Shadows. Robin grins and asks, "Whoa, you want us to rescue her from the shadows?" "Hardcore," Kid said as he and Robin slammed fists together. "I already rescued her," Red declared. "Only one problem: the League of Shadow forced her to create a device known as the Fog. It is a nanotech infiltrator that has the ability to eat through anything concrete, steel, flesh, and bones. The true power of the Fog is to eat and store raw data, download the millions of data, then deliver it to the shadows, providing them with weapons, new technology, and cutting-edge science. Extortion, bribery, embezzling. Yeah, it sounds like the shadows," Artemis replied. Kid sneered. "Yeah, like you know anything about the shadows." Artemis grins in a way that seems to contradict that. "Who are you?" "Roquette is working on a virus that will disable the Fog," Red said. Robin began. "If the shadows know she can do that, they will do whatever possible to silence her. She is safe now. I have stashed her at the local high school computer lab," Red continued. Green Arrow scowls. "You left her alone? She is safe?" When Green says, "Then let's you and I keep her that way." "You and I? Don't you want to take your new proto copyright? Got copyright," Red replied. To end the argument, Batman puts his hand on Green Arrow's shoulder. Green Arrow settles down. "You brought this to the team, that means it is their mission," meaning it is her mission as well, Arrow replied. Red frowned. Red Arrow moves to the portal and disappears, saying, "I am out of here." Naruto straightens up. Robin, Miss Martian, and Superboy get to the high school and do a perimeter sweep. Aqualad and Kid get inside the school and protect the target. Roger. The group leaves. Artemis advances. "I am a part of this team now as well." Naruto looks at Artemis and asks, "You're with me, is that a problem?" She is struck by a wave of murderous intent. Artemis starts to shake with terror. She gives a headshake. "Good. High school in Happy Harbor," the voice said. "Right, can everyone hear me? Miss Martians?" The volume in Artemis's mind makes her wince. "This is weird. And distracting," Roquette remarked. "Coding an algorithm virus on a kiddie computer with less RAMs than a wristwatch is hard enough. Now I have to listen to the thoughts of a bunch of kids." Roquette raises her head in dissatisfaction. The child was eating a chocolate bar while seated at a table. "Lady, do you always complain to those who are trying to protect you?" "Pot meat kettle," Artemis quipped. Miss Martian cut the mental link with Dr. Roquette. She needs to focus on the task at hand. Naruto looks at Kid. He immediately stops talking, then his gaze shifts to Artemis. "Be quiet," Naruto commands. Artemis swallows. The voices in Dr. Roquette's head have stopped. "Thanks." Naruto bends over. She calms down, feeling much more secure. "There is nothing to fear. My team will protect you. Do you have a way to track the Fog?" she asks. Dr. Roquette responds, "Yes, I'll have to go online, which means they'll be able to track me." His proximity to her causes her to flush. He's very attractive. Fortunately, no one else can hear what she's thinking. "Robin, I am sending you with Superboy, Miss Martian, and Kid Flash. I want the four of you to hunt down that virus destroyer. Capture it. I'll leave the call to you," Naruto says. "Track it," Naruto commands. Dr. Roquette nods before logging on. The city of Philadelphia. From his computer, Professor Ojo receives a message as he runs his fingers over the console. A picture of the sensei appears. Sensei inquired, "What is the news?" "Professor Roquette has tracked us, but that is a two-way street. She has revealed her location," stated Professor Ojo. "He locates her right away. Sending coordinates." The coordinates are examined by Sensei. "Who do we have near a Happy Harbor, Rhode Island?" Joyful Harbor. Cheshire's gaze is fixed on the structure where Professor Roquette is concealed. A high school. What a foolish decision to conceal someone. There are numerous points of entry. She gives the guards a quick glance behind the mask. A grin spreads across her face when she recognizes a face. Artemis moves about, looking around the area on the opposite side. Aqualad is looking around the perimeter. Cheshire looks down at a hissing sound. 3 snakes creep straight at her. She swiftly emerges from the bushes, making herself visible. The snakes disappear in smoke clouds. Artemis shoots 2 arrows and asks, "Are you not very good at hiding?" Cheshire cuts through the arrows with her sai. "Need to work on your aim," Cheshire told him. Laughing, Artemis shoots a few more arrows, but Cheshire deflects them and then kicks Artemis in the face with a high kick with 2 water swords in hand. Aqualad leaps forward. Cheshire blocks the swords by raising her sai. Aqualad pushes her back with his superior strength. She kicks him in the chin while flipping backwards. Cheshire throws Aqualad a number of shuriken. The shuriken is deflected by the protective water shield formed by Aqualad's swords behind her mask. Cheshire smirks. "Nice move. Looks like you are a bit better than the other one." "Artemis, we don't need to defeat her. Our mission is to protect Dr. Roquette," Aqualad responds. Artemis's eyes narrow. "Yeah, but it'll be so much sweeter to capture her." When Cheshire says, 2-on-1 hardly seems like fair odds. It does sound fun. He rushes in Aqualad's direction. 3 arrows are fired by Artemis. Cheshire throws a shuriken at Artemis as he steps aside from a safe distance. Aqualad attacks Cheshire with a pair of whips. Cheshire was encircled by snakes that sprang from the earth as the snakes dig their fangs into Cheshire's body. She lets out a painful scream. Naruto emerges from the shadows to give the order, Artemis. Aqualad fall back to Dr. Roquette. Aqualad dashes in after giving Cheshire a quick glance. Artemis follows Aqualad. The snakes vanish in the same smoke clouds. Cheshire falls to her knees, her arms and legs dripping blood. I suggest not trying to escape. Moving around will only cause the poison to speed up, Naruto responds. Cheshire's mask comes off to reveal the face of a lovely woman with shaggy black hair. This isn't over. Even if you capture me, the shadows will not stop. Her lovely face has a smirk on it. Nothing can stop the shadows. He drops to his knees and meets Cheshire's gaze. He gets up as Cheshire falls face forward, her eyes rolling up into her head. Shadows, huh? That's cute. I look forward to meeting the other assassins. Maybe one of them can give me a challenge. The antidote is not given to her by Naruto. She won't die from the poison. Wayne Technology. Miss Martian steers the vessel in the direction of Gotham City. I hope we don't arrive too late. With a sly smile, Robin takes out a disc and throws it to Kid, saying, yes, she finished uploading the virus. Get inside Wayne Tech and download that virus. Superboy, see if you can find the one with the virus. The child grins. Too easy. The ship is flying directly at Wayne Tech. A van is spotted outside the building by Superboy. The doors open to reveal a man carrying a metal tube inside, dressed in red and black with a metallic visor. Superboy yells, found him, and leaps down toward the van. Professor Ojo notices Superboy when he looks up from his visor. The professor shoots a strong blast. Superboy is struck by it and knocked to the ground. The fog is released by Ojo. Robin looks at Kid. Go. Kid lands on the ground and says, gone. Before sprinting into Wayne Tech, it is easy for the black blur to get past security and reach the higher levels. A child discovers one of the numerous supercomputers. I need the code to enter the main systems. Link in and I'll give it to you. Robin says. Superboy looks at Professor Ojo as he gets to his feet. Another beam is fired by Professor Ojo. Superboy walks straight through the beam. While raising his arms, he grabs the visor with his outstretched hand and crushes it. Professor Ojo is blasted backwards by the tiny explosion and falls to the ground, unconscious. As the fog breaks up, Miss Martian smiles. Yes, we did it. Robin approaches Superboy. Superboy smirks and says, I think that classifies as mission accomplished. Mount Justice across her chest. Artemis folds her arms. So do I make the cut? Naruto looks at Aqualad and Robin. Superboy, Kid Flash, and Miss Martian are also present. I'll leave the decision up to them personally. I find your skills average and you are hot-tempered. Arguing with a teammate while on a mission is foolish and is an unnecessary distraction. Then again, I do have a student who constantly flirts during missions and he is still able to do his duty. Naruto responds. Children give sheepish smiles. Aqualad gives Robin a look. I believe she can be an asset and has proven we can trust her to have our backs. Robin smiles. He takes a step forward and extends his hand. Welcome to the team. Thanks, Artemis says with a smile. She gives Robin a handshake. Miss Martian smiles and says, I have always wanted a sister on Earth. Holding his hand, Aqualad says, it is good to have you. Naruto departs so that the group can formally meet the newest team member. He disappears into the darkness. The city of Gotham. Artemis enters a phone booth by teleporting there. She hears a sound as she steps outside. She draws a bow and arrow out of instinct and raises it toward the darkness. Artemis said, step out into the light. A silhouette emerged from the darkness and it turned out to be Red Arrow. That was good. Almost had me believing that you were Green Arrow's niece, but we both know you're not. Red Arrow replied. Artemis's eyes narrow. I am sure Batman and Green Arrow have a reason for keeping your true identity secret, so don't worry, your secret is safe. Red Arrow replied. His eyes are hard as he leans forward. He turns away and walks away after saying, but I warn you, don't hurt my friends. Artemis averts her eyes with remorse. The Shadow League. Sitting in a meditative position is Sensei. He is surrounded by monitors, each of which has a number of light-based creatures. Report, a voice said. Professor Ojo managed to send the Star Labs data before being captured. Unfortunately, we were unable to get our hands on the Wayne Tech data, Sensei said. Those young team of heroes interfered, so it is fortunate that we have an operative on the inside, the voice said. Sensei's face lights up with a smile. Roquette groans. She opens her eyes slowly, a smile spreading across her face. Her nostrils are filled with the aroma of eggs and bacon. The bed is empty. When she sits up, she lets the blankets fall and gets to her feet with a slight yawn. Naruto eats breakfast while seated in the kitchen when he hears footsteps. He looks up to see Roquette approaching him while sporting a black bikini and an oversized t-shirt. After giving him a smile, she sits down opposite him. Roquette grins and asks, "So you can cook on top of fighting crime?" "I prefer Asian cuisine, but I can cook a few American meals," Naruto says. With trepidation, Roquette asks, "Is this a one-time thing?" Last night's sex had been incredible. Naruto blew them all away. Even though she had only dated a handful of other men, he has extraordinary endurance, stamina, and general skill. He is also extremely well endowed. He raises his head. "I can't really afford relationships in my line of work. If you ever want to do it again, give me a call, but other than I am afraid this is all I can offer," Naruto candidly states. Roquette grinned. "Good, as amazing as last night was. I need to get back to my work. If you stay, then no way I get any work done." Naruto grins while wearing a mask. He must admit that he appreciates her directness. He prefers to hang out with people who are honest and don't skirt the truth. Take a break. Superboy blocks 2 punches by raising his arms. After that, he delivers 3 brief jabs. Aqualad successfully avoids the blows and puts some distance between them. They begin to circle one another. Superboy's face lights up with a smile. Those boxing lessons are paying off handsomely. He thought it was far superior to learning jujitsu or karate. Artemis looked at Megan and said, "You know, Aqualad is handsome, strong, and a great leader. I think you should totally ask him out." Megan grins. "Calder. He is like an older brother, you know, who would make a cute couple." In a whirl of leaves, Naruto emerges. The typical forest starts to emerge from the training room. There are about 12 stars in the night sky. "Team training," Naruto declares. "What? You got to be kidding me. I am not prepared for training." Artemis responds. She looks around at the other people. She is shocked to see Miss Martian dressed in her typical mission attire from the floor. Aqualad retrieves his water bearer suddenly. The child is dressed in his own uniform. "Seriously? You all knew about this and didn't tell me?" The child giggles. "Sensei is always pulling out surprise training sessions. We have learned to always come down here prepared," Aqualad says with a nod. "Sometimes you'll be caught by surprise and need to work with what you have. Looks like you'll be working without your bow," Naruto says. When Naruto says, "Oh come on," his eyes narrow. Artemis stops talking. "I didn't know. That is the point of the surprise training sessions, kid. We'll do a warm-up session. You're the prey." Kid grinned and said, "Yes, try to catch me if you can," before running away. Aqualad team leader: "Since Robin is gone, I'll give you 30 missions to capture Kid using Superboy, Miss Martian, and Artemis as your team members," Naruto says in order to observe the simulation. He disappears into the trees. It's time to see how well Aqualad can lead and how well Artemis can adjust to a new circumstance. Take a break. Aqualad is more worn out than normal. When he exits the training room, he needs to rest, so he leans against the wall. He inhales deeply, pushes away from the wall, and turns to confront Naruto with a serene expression on his face. Naruto leans against the wall. Naruto asks, "Want to tell me what is wrong?" Aqualad reassures him, "I am fine, just a little exhausted is all." Naruto nods. He starts to leave, saying, "Come to me when you are ready to talk." Aqualad looks at the floor and says, "Wait." Naruto looks over at his pupil. "There is something lately. My mind is on the surface, but my heart is in the ocean down below. I used to dream of coming up here, but now that I am here I only want to be there," Aqualad replied. Across his chest, Naruto folds his arms. This poses a problem because when you are here, I need you focused 100% on the task at hand." Aqualad speaks quietly. Naruto leaves Aqualad alone with his thoughts and says, "Meet me tomorrow at noon for a private mission. It will determine your fate with the team." Room of training. Artemis shows up fully outfitted. Naruto reads his book while perched atop a boulder. He raises his head from his book. "Good, it is time to test the full extent of your abilities," Naruto responds. "A private test? Listen, if you don't like me, fine, but if you think I am going to quit the team, then forget it. I'll pass whatever test you throw at me," Artemis says. Naruto opens his book and turns the page. The room started to transform into the standard training space without any holographic images. "Quit the team? If I wanted you gone, then you would be gone. I have no fear of Batman or Green Arrow. Let them threaten me all they want. I assure you I can handle them. No, this is a test for you alone because I want to see your true abilities." With a flick of the fingers, the room went completely dark. From above comes a red light. Artemis stiffens. "This test will test your reflexes and reaction speed. Hit the targets, as many as you can. Be careful not to harm the civilians and watch out for flying objects." It gets completely dark in the room. A blue light starts to flash. Artemis fires 2 arrows after spotting 2 targets. The room turned completely black once more, and she never knew if they had struck. The lights started flashing quickly. A number of targets start to show up throughout the space. She makes an effort to stay up. She shoots an arrow at another target that appears. The lights come on. Artemis leaps as Naruto stands behind her and says, "Fail." He gestures toward the object. She glances at the image, which shows a civilian woman with an arrow piercing her head. Again, Naruto says as he disappears into the shadows that envelop Artemis. Artemis keeps a close eye on the civilians to avoid hitting them. A kunai emerges from the shadows as a pink light turns on. Her cheek is sliced by it. "Fail," Naruto says as he stands behind her once more. Artemis frowns and says, "This is impossible," again. An hour goes by. Sweat trickles down Artemis's brow as she drops to her knees. Her arms and legs are covered in tiny cuts. She looks up as she hears a crunching sound. Naruto is eating an apple while seated across from her, and the lights are on. "Fail." The words, "You're a bastard," Artemis says. Naruto gives a headshake. "Poor women and children. I think you killed 8 of them altogether. Those poor pieces of cardboard never got a chance to live their lives. I'll have to hold a funeral for them." Artemis's mouth quivers, then she bursts into laughter. She collapses back onto her ass and asks, "What is wrong with you?" Naruto throws her an apple. Her eyes take on an expression of gratitude. "In life, you face obstacles and choices that seem impossible. We either let them beat us down or we make the impossible possible. Though you failed each time, you never once gave up. That is what I truly wanted to see. So congratulations, you pass," Naruto says. Artemis's cheeks get a slight flush. "Thanks," Naruto gives a nod. "Feel free to call me sensei. I prefer torturer. I can live with that." The following day, Naruto patiently awaits Aqualad's arrival. Aqualad arrives on schedule. He approaches Naruto, who is positioned in front of the portal for the Zeta beam. Aqualad's eyes take on a questioning expression. "Atlantis has found a giant starfish of some variety. Justice League wants a sample of this starfish, so I volunteered to go get it. You'll be coming with me to act as my guide. I take it you don't have a problem with this?" Aqualad grinned. "No, sensei." Naruto turns on the portal and says, "Good." Both disappear. The Atlantean Habi and Aqualad appear underwater in a ray of light. Aquaman welcomes the two right away. "Welcome back to Atlantis, Kaldoraham." "I welcome you as well, Habi," says Aquaman. Aqualad salutes by raising his arm. "Greetings, King Orin." To the surprise of Aqualad and Aquaman, Habi declares, "The entire city is underwater." Aqualad asks, "You can talk underwater?" Habi gives a nod. "Samahada is in charge of it. I can breathe as well. It is a special ability of mine. Through the use of its chakra." The sword beneath his mask gives him a set of gills that allow him to breathe underwater and speak. He genuinely adores this sword. "I'm very happy that it accompanied him to this new world." Aquaman grinned. "This is a pleasant surprise. If you don't mind, I would like to speak to Calder for a moment." Habi smiles, speaking in their own tongue. Aquaman and Aqualad swim ahead to get a better look at the city. Habi swims off by himself. The Atlantean city. Well, Poseidonis, the capital of Atlantis. The whole country of the underwater cities is called Atlantis. It's an amazing city. Although Habi has heard tales of Atlantis, he has never had the opportunity to visit it. The location is not adequately depicted in the stories. He now understands why Aqualad longs for his native land. Aqualad approaches Habi by swimming. "Forgive me, sensei. I know we have a mission, but I am wondering if I may take some time to visit a few friends that I have not seen in a while." Habi gives Aqualad a quick look. Aqualad smiles appreciatively and says, "Friends, huh? Show me where the science dome is and I will leave you to visit your friends." Sector 4. Habi swims at a moderate speed through the water. His ability to speak and breathe underwater has already raised suspicions. There's no use in demonstrating his extraordinary speed underwater. He compares the science center, which is a huge dome, to a miniature football stadium. As he gets closer, 2 guards lift their weapons. "I am Habi of the Justice League. I have come to see the new specimen found," Habi responds. A young, attractive man swims forward. "I am Prince Orm. We have been awaiting your arrival." "A pleasure to meet you," Habi says with a respectful bow. Prince Orm says, "I am afraid that no unauthorized weapons are allowed," as he studies Samahada. Habi gives a headshake. "Samahada is a very special sword. It is bonded to me. The sword is how I am able to breathe and speak underwater." Despite his suspicious expression, Prince Orm nods. "Very well. I will have to warn you that any attempt to go for your sword, we will take it as hostile action. My security will not hesitate to eliminate any threats." "I understand. Follow me." As Habi effortlessly maintains his pace, Prince Orm observes for someone who lives on the surface. That is impressive. The two go into the main room where the enormous starfish, frozen solid in a block of ice, is kept. An elderly man swims toward the two wearing a red bodysuit. The scientist smiles and says, "Prince Orm, I did not expect to see you so soon. We have a visitor from the Justice League. Please tell him what you have learned of the creature," stated Prince Orm. The scientist points to the creature and says, "Yes." The trio swims toward it. It is disturbing to say the least. The creature is frozen, has been for millennia, and yet somehow it still lives. We have even detected brainwaves. Needless to say, it has become our top priority. In front of the starfish, Hubby floats. This creature is more dangerous than you realize. Prince Orm furrows his brow. What do you mean? As Hubby looks at the creature, she says, it is a feeling I have and I always trust my instincts. Pulses of Samahata. This is a very dangerous creature. Mount Justice Robin types frantically, bringing up the earlier missions. Reports it is his responsibility as the team's leader to review what went well and, more crucially, identify what went wrong so that it doesn't happen again. Even when a mission goes well, it is always good to look it over a second time to figure out what you can do better. Perfection is never obtained, only sought after. Those who claim perfection are allowing arrogance to blind them. Arrogance leads to death, stated Naruto. Robin grins as he begins to come up with a number of fresh ideas. He pulls up each team member's individual skills and starts putting together a new team configuration. The Atlantean Tulu and Calder leave the palace by swimming. The two concluded their dinner with King Orin, Prince Orm, and the Queen to assist with a problem in Tokyo Bay. Aquaman was called away. Calder and Tulu both said, I wanted, simultaneously. Tulu gets red. Calder, there is something. Calder takes her hands and says, please Tula, I have come to a decision. I have decided to stay in Atlantis with you, because of you. Tula turns away from him and pulls away. She turns to him and says, we wanted to tell you earlier, Garth and I. We are together. Calder feels pain in his eyes just as she opens her mouth to continue. There is an explosion. A structure collapses in front of them. There are more explosions throughout the city. Tula and Calder look on in horror. Take a break. 3 attackers are taken out when Hubby swings Samahata. He looks around and observes that every explosion happens outside the area where the science center is located. This indicates that all of the explosions are a diversion from the attacker's goal, which is the enormous starfish. His top priority is to make sure Aquaman and the Queen are safe at the palace. He will then pursue the starfish. The Palace of Atlantis. The first explosion drew away our forces, leaving the palace unguarded, Aqualad declares, brandishing his swords. This is a precision attack. After slicing through 2 guns, he spins around and kicks one attacker before slamming a water mace into his face. Tula has glowing arms. She throws a magical ball that flies between 3 assailants before detonating. The attackers are eliminated by the blast. Protect the Queen, Prince Orm commands, launching a series of plasma rifle shots. The fire is absorbed by 2 magical shields that Queen Mira makes. She then lifts her arms and releases purple magic tentacles that swim in the direction of the assailants and encircle them. As the attackers are electrocuted, they scream in agony. Tula. Garth swam over to the company when Tula notices an assailant behind Garth. Her eyes enlarge. She swims in his direction. Garth, she exclaims, grabbing him and pushing him aside while the assailant fires. Garth and Tula are surrounded by a fast-moving blue blur. The shot hits the skin of the object, doing no damage. A 20-foot blue snake catches Prince Orm, Aqualad, and Queen Mira off guard. Sensei. Aqualad says with a smile. Hubby is standing atop the snake's head. He flashes through hand seals as he brings his hands together. Water release. 5 feeding sharks. 5 enormous water-based sharks swam toward the assailants. These attacks are a distraction. The real target is the starfish at the science center. Hubby states the snake emerges alongside the Queen, shielding her from approaching fire as it darts through the water. Aqualad's eyes narrow. We cannot let them have it. Hubby said, we'll go ahead and take care of it. Tula declares, we are coming too. No. Aqualad's tone of voice surprises Tula and Garth. I am sorry, my friends, but you will only get in our ways. We will handle this. Your duty is to protect the Queen. Aqualad responds. Hubby gives a nod. The two move quickly through the water. Center for Science. The attackers manning the Science Center's entrance are easily dispatched by Aqualad and Hubby. Hubby turns his head to see Garth and Tula. I told you to protect the Queen, Aqualad says. Prince Orm protects the Queen. She sent us to help you, Garth replied. Hubby swims in front. Garth and Tula appear beside them as Aqualad says, no time to argue. Through the center, the 4 swim. Hubby and Aqualad fall back as Garth and Tula inadvertently begin swimming ahead. Garth asks, what is the plan? No response. Tula spins around. Calder. Intruders. Tula and Garth turn to see 2 attackers, who are easily taken out by Aqualad, who approaches from behind. Another pair approaches from the right, and Hubby takes care of them. Aqualad sees his friends staring at him in shock and says, I too have my studies. Hubby stops and says, up ahead, split up into 2 groups. I will now call their attention to it while you're distracted by me. The 3 of you take down as many as you can. Make sure that the starfish isn't taken. Take a break. Black Manta lifts his arm and declares, Phase 3 is finished. Start Phase 4. Oh. Black Manta looks down to see an intruder. Hubby swings Samahata, taking out 2 more attackers. Hubby raises Samahata in front of him protectively to absorb the fire coming at him. Get him, Black Manta commands. 3 attackers are smashed by Aqualad using a pair of water maxes, and then more are blasted by Tula and Garth using their magic. Black Manta fires at Garth, and Aqualad moves in front of him, forming a shield of water that absorbs the blast. Aqualad and Aquaman are still a waste of time. Too many people are willing to give their lives for their king, aren't they? Garth and Aqualad are forced to seek cover as Black Manta fires a series of additional shots. With her arms raised, Tula says, "Ah." She unleashes a magical ball that eliminates 2 more assailants. A ship drops a grappling hook over the science center, and Hubby looks up to see the ceiling melt away. Save the starfish. Hubby moves in front of Black Manta as he tries to stop Aqualad, and he swings Samahata, missing Black Manta as he swims quickly away. I call forth the Tempest's might. Aqualad cuts the grappling hook line, and Garth unleashes a powerful tornado of magic that eliminates the remaining attackers. It's over, says Aqualad facing Black Manta. No one else can have it if I can't. Hubby watches as Black Manta flees after he fires 2 tiny missiles from his back, which hit the creature and cause a huge explosion. Aqualad shields himself, Garth, and Tula with a bubble of water. Pardon me, Sensei. I should have made a shield to block those missiles, Aqualad says as he swims alongside Hubby. Though I don't have much knowledge on the subject, you made the right choice protecting your friends. Hubby shook his head, but he didn't say that he intentionally allowed Black Manta to destroy the starfish, saying that he could have stopped those missiles and that the creature is too dangerous to let live. Take a break. I think I owe you a huge debt of gratitude, Aquaman says, extending his hand to Hubby. Even so, many people are hurt and our city has sustained significant damage. He looks at his wife Mira and says, thank you, it could have been much worse. Aquaman's hands are shaken by Hubby, who says, you're welcome. This is all we were able to find, says Prince Orm, bringing forward a tiny tube containing a fragment of the starfish. It's already starting to grow back. Unfortunately, we won't be able to carry out our research in a safe manner because the dome is compromised and the city is in disarray. Perhaps the surface world can do better, says the prince. As Aquaman nods, I am sure they will be eager to try. Hubby takes the starfish and places it in his pouch. In front of Tula and Garth, Aqualad says, Caldora Iawi. Hubby is waiting for him when Calder says, I wish you two all the happiness in the world. And Tula steps forward to embrace him. He lets her go and shakes hands with Garth. Garth, have you ever wondered what would have happened if you became Aqualad and I stayed at the conservatory? Calder asks. Grinning, Garth says, never. Calder grinned and said, me either, before he and Hubby teleported off. A groan escapes Naruto. He wakes up to find that he is face first in a pile of sand. That pile of sand turns into a large desert. As far as the eye can see, Naruto's eyes fill with confusion. The last place he remembers being is in New York City. What the hell is he doing in a desert? Memory loss? Samahata growls. I fucking hate sand, Naruto says as he gets to his feet, patting down his trousers. It spreads to all places. And you should have protected me from that mental attack. Naruto looks at Samahata, and the sword grumbles, huh? I opened my mind voluntarily? I'm not going to make that mistake again, shit. Oh. When Naruto looks up, he sees a boy who looks like Superman and even has the same S shield on the front of his shirt. Descending towards him, the boy creates a set of hand seals and slams into Naruto's feet first, causing sand to explode upward like a grenade. Superboy is trapped in a water sphere when the sand falls away. Water style. Water prison. Naruto is holding the sphere steady with one hand, and Samahata implores to be unwrapped so it can eat Superboy as a snack. Orochimaru's Edo Tensei technique, which he regularly uses on high-level ninja, forces them to give him all of their secrets before sending them back to the grave. Kisame is another ninja who was brought back from the dead and forced to give Orochimaru all of his secrets. The reason that Hunter Ninja destroy the bodies of missing ninja is because they do not want the missing ninja's body to fall into enemy hands. And each village has its own method of examining the body to learn its secrets. Like Orochimaru, Naruto enjoys learning new skills, and since Orochimaru had no trouble with him picking up Kisame's techniques, he used his shadow clones to pick up the majority of them faster, that is, until he made the sacrifice to keep the Kyuubi from the Akatsuki. You look familiar. Naruto looks at Superboy, using one of his favorite techniques, an unavoidable prism of water. Samahata says, I know you. I guess you get to live. He makes hand seals with one hand. Lightning release. 1000 volts. Superboy is electrocuted by lightning that flows through Naruto's body into the water sphere, and his screams go unheard before his eyes roll up into his head. The water thuds down on the sand. I'm sorry, kid, but I have more important things to do than to tote you around. Naruto waves as he leaves. If we know one another, you know that I am not a team player and that I prefer to work alone. Take a break. Leaning against a big boulder, Robin wanders around in a daze. Where am I? I better contact Batman, he says, reaching up to his communication link. Batman stood in front of a monitor. Keep radio silence at all times. Or not, Robin said. He heard a car drive by and immediately hid. Eventually, a jeep with multiple soldiers in it brandishing automatic weapons passed by. Robin scowled as he recognized the uniforms. Those are Bialia's special force soldiers. What are they doing here in Bialia? As he looks at the holographic map he brought up, Robin's expression is one of surprise. All right, he scowled. What am I doing in Bialia? September, what on earth became of March? In other places, hey, are you okay? A voice said. Artemis opens her eyes and groans as she looks up into the face of a cute boy in a skin-tight suit. Huh? Who are you? Is this another dumb test that my father set up? Artemis asks, rubbing her head. I have no idea. I'm Kid Flash. Do you know who I am? Kid grinned. Frowning, Artemis said, Kid Flash? I thought you were wearing a red and yellow suit, but you're a hero. I still don't know all the details myself. The child shrugged. What about you? Have a thing for Green Arrow? Oh, what am I wearing? Artemis gasped. Hey, are you familiar with that device? Kid pointed to her bow and asked. Yes, I learned from my father. Dad. One of his dumb tests is this one. He most likely wants me to kill you. The child goes a little pale. Artemis walks by him and exits the hut. He starts to speak, but stops when he hears a whistling sound. The two leap as an explosion takes place a few feet away. Both spin around to see a pair of tanks heading straight towards them. It fires several more shells at them. Artemis draws her impact arrow and fires it. It flies true, striking the tank, then exploding. No damage is done to the tank. The hut they had been staying in explodes in a shower of debris. Sorry, but their arrows are bigger than yours. Artemis blushes slightly because no boy has ever been this intimate with her, and her father will kill anyone who tries to get this close. The child picks up Artemis' bridal style and runs off at high speeds. Thanks, Artemis said. No issue. I am a good guy. I told you. What is your name, by the way? And why do you feel the need to murder me? Kid grinned. The Bialia. When Miss Martian's eyes slowly opened, she raised a hand to her sore head and looked up at a bright white moon. Her eyes were bewildered as she grasped the ground, which turned out to be sand. Where am I? Miss Martian asked, glancing down at her attire, which consisted of a skin-tight black and red suit with a blue cape. What am I wearing? She asked. Hi Megan. Miss Martian grinned. I must be on Earth, and the young Martian became even more perplexed. How did I get on Earth? I have dreamed of coming here, but it is a little different from the way I saw it on television, Megan said with a smile as she flew through the air. I can't believe I am on Earth. The girl is floating in the air in a meditative stance, hovering down with her legs crossed Indian style. Why can I remember anything? Asks Miss Martian, who closes her eyes and inhales deeply. Concentrate. Remember. Careful Superboy, they are hot. Superboy reaches for a cookie, but Kid quickly grabs it and says, not as hot as you. Grinning as he eats it, Superboy shakes his head and reaches for a cookie. Megan answered, thanks, that's sweet. Smirking, the child said, not as sweet as you. Kid gets a head slap from Artemis, who says, give it a break. We are on a mission. Let's go, Naruto said as he momentarily entered the room. I play for a team. I have pals. And a wait along Superboy. I need to locate the others. Megan opened her mind and telepathically called out to the others. That's what he told me to do. Hello. Are you there, team? Megan thought, perhaps they are out of my range. Naruto glares at Miss Martian, who winces a little and says, I don't like having people in my head. Stop mentally shouting in my head. With a broad smile, Miss Martian says, Sensei. With a head tilt, Naruto says, Sensei? I must be confused. I haven't got any pupils. The niece of the Martian Manhunter is probably not one of my students. The Manhunter and I don't get along very well. Really, Uncle Jean and you don't get along? Miss Martian blinks. Naruto corrects Miss Martian. There are very few people I get along with, as Samahata pulses. Hold on, Sensei. Miss Martian flies in front of him. Naruto gains an annoyed look as the girl is about the same height as him. One would think, having been pumped full of physical enhancement drugs, he might be a bit taller. Please, you have to believe me. You are our sensei, and I am a member of a group of young heroes. Naruto scratches the back of his head. He is the sensei of a group of young heroes. He must have been extremely bored when he agreed to do that. Or Canary must have tricked him into it. He looks into her eyes. Either the girl is telling the truth, or she is a really good liar. Samahata appears to recognize her. So there is a chance she is telling the truth. Where is the rest of our team if I believe you? Naruto asks. Well, there is Robin. Robin? The sidekick of Batman? Batman trusts me to train his sidekick? Naruto asks, waving his hand as he leaves. Not in my opinion, you must have a mental illness. Sensei. The person is called Naruto. Go away from me. Naruto disappears in a whirlpool of sand, saying, I don't like people who are crazy or annoying, because you are turning into both. Take a break. I am running low on energy. The child stops panting and opens the secret compartment on his arm, which is empty. Empty. I wouldn't have consumed my emergency supplies if it hadn't been more than 24 hours. So what? Oh. A blast knocks them both backwards after an object lands between them. Kid and Artemis see a boy their own age, and Superboy backhands Kid into a rock. Artemis flips backwards and draws her bow, firing an impact arrow at Superboy. It hits Superboy and explodes, but he continues to charge at her. She fires 2 more arrows with the same result, and Superboy rears back his fist. Superboy stops when he hears a lot of fire. The ground next to him and Artemis erupts, and they turn to see 2 tanks approaching. Ah! Superboy screams as he leaps toward the tanks in the air. The kid rubs his head and says, that hurt. He gets up and turns to face Artemis before turning to see the odd child destroying the tanks. Whose side is he on? Artemis says, I don't know, but let's get out of here, and the 2 flee before Superboy finishes with those tanks. Artemis draws an impact arrow, but just as she is about to shoot it, a voice shouts in her head, causing her to lose focus. The arrow sloppily misses the predators by a mile. Predator planes fly overhead, firing down at the 2, and Kid and Artemis dive for cover. Did you hear a girl's voice in your mind just now? Artemis said. Girls are constantly on my mind, however, they never speak, Kid remarked. A green-skinned girl lands in front of Kid and Artemis as they watch the Predator's planes circle back around and then crash into each other due to an unseen force. I finally found you, Miss Martian grinned. Thanks for the save, Jean, but I don't think the whole gender thing is working, Kid replied. Are you acquainted with my uncle? Hi, Megan. You do, of course. You are Artemis, Wally, and Kid Flash. Friends. We are a team, Miss Martian grinned. Group? Kid said it again. Artemis looks at Kid and says, Wally is your real name? The child moans, you know her? No way, beautiful, the child said, shaking his head, I swear I have never seen her. You both lost your memories as well, sighs Miss Martian. Come on, we have to locate Superboy and Robin. Kid sarcastically said, right, Robin and Superboy, but he still followed. At night, Robin said, I wish I could remember why I placed a GPS here. As he ran across the sand and came upon a hill, he looked down and saw a large metal box that appeared to be rare and advanced technology. His eyes narrowed, assuming it was created by Wayne Industries. Her Majesty wants him alive. BLEA soldiers erupted from the sand as he carefully leapt down and landed next to it. Robin throws a smoke pellet on the ground, and the soldiers raise their weapons in response. One by one, Robin starts to eliminate the soldiers. Open fire. The air is filled with gunshots, causing Robin to quickly dodge. A smirk appears on Kid's face as he rushes towards the closest soldier, grabs a fist, and quickly spins the soldier around, throwing him into another soldier. I'll take those, Kid says as he speeds around stealing the guns from each soldier. When one soldier tries to flee, an arrow flies at him, bursts open, and ropes wrap around him, binding him. Miss Martian raises her arms, blasting 2 other soldiers away. Robin grinned and said, KF, it's nice to see a familiar face. Robin's fists bump with the child's memory loss. Robin frowned and said, let's tie these fools up and compare notes. The 4 turned to see Naruto sitting atop the metal box, staring at the 4 young heroes as Artemis pulls out her arrow and the kid tenses. Those are my moves. Hubby? Robin blinks. Are you familiar with him? Kid says. Indeed, he is the Justice League's youngest member. He's not very popular with Batman, Robin says. The feeling is mutual, Naruto responds. I'm happy you're here, Sensei, says Miss Martian with a smile. The entire team is now present. So, we work as a team, Robin said. The 4 of us and Superboy, Miss Martian described. Are you able to bring back our memories? Maybe that will help clear things up, Naruto asks. I think so if everyone opens up their minds to me, says Miss Martian, nodding. With a nervous shift, Artemis says, I don't like it. The child takes her hand and says, I'm here too. Naruto looks at Artemis, who blushes a little. Okay, but only the recent ones no further. What is she so anxious to hide? Miss Martian closes her eyes, and the 5 of them are transported into their subconscious. She starts to restore their memories, beginning with receiving the mission from Batman at Mount Justice. and continues until Aqualad warns her to exercise caution when she explores the Bealia camp. Aqualad! Cry out the four. He truly is the sensei of these young heroes, and Naruto scratches the back of his head. His eyes take on a sheepish expression as he recalls what he did to Superboy. What took place next? Artemis asks, shaking her head. Miss Martian says, I can't remember. Calder has been wandering around in a desert for 24 hours? For a guy with chills, that isn't good, Kid says. Now that I know where to look for him, I can track him. Robin types rapidly, I got him. Although he is not far away, he is not moving. Come on. Take a break. Aqualad has a very weak pulse, which Naruto can detect by putting a finger to his neck while he is kneeling down. We must return him to the bioship, Naruto declares. Can you carry him back, Kid? Robin asks. I can hardly run, the child says, shaking his head. I don't have enough energy. He points to Artemis and says, I couldn't even carry her. You can levitate him back to the ship, Artemis says, turning to face Miss Martian. Even the location of the ship's landing is beyond my memory. I am unable to. I must locate Superboy. He was a non-existent figure 6 months prior. Miss Martian claims that he is acting on instincts and that all of his memories have vanished. Superboy cannot be destroyed. You witnessed the damage he caused to those tanks. Calder needs our assistance right now, Kid says. Naruto, who only joined this mission to serve as a supervisor, stands aside and lets his team work independently. We will get Superboy after we get Aqualad back to the ship, Robin commands. In front of his group, Naruto declares, I'm getting closer. I am not, however, a member of the team for this mission since we don't know what triggered that outburst of high energy. I'm stepping in case the League needs to get involved. You're supposed to pretend that I'm not even there. Miss Martian grips her head, saying, Superboy, he's hurting. Naruto narrows his eyes as he watches her take off, leaving the team behind. Take a break as the scientists turn a dial and Superboy screams in agony from being electrocuted. Miss Martian, who is invisible and can easily slip past the soldiers, flies towards the tent and finds him restrained to a table. Superboy, she says, flies over to him, and uses her telekinetic powers to knock out 2 of the scientists. Simone smirks as he senses the girl, and a figure with a black hood covering his face steps forward, lowering the hood to reveal a very ugly face with his brain visible through the top of his head. Miss Martian gasps as she discovers that she is in a bizarre world that resembles a Picasso painting and that everything is in disarray. What a dumb little girl. The world closes in on Miss Martian. Time to forget. A menacing voice laughs. I see you didn't learn your lesson from what happened last time. Then a telepath enters her mind, causing her to forget everything and using her mental link with the others to make them forget as well. Miss Martian's eyes fill with fear, and then memories of what happened begin to return to her. She recalls flying into the tent and seeing the scientists test a strange metal sphere that appears to be alien. No. The ominous voice yells when Miss Martian opens her eyes. She sees Simone pinned to the ground by a huge sword. She looks directly at Naruto-sensei, who is staring at her with emotionless, cold eyes, and then she turns to see all the scientists and soldiers lying motionless on the ground. She feels frightened and looks at the sentient alien technology, which is screaming in terror and trying to escape Naruto. Sensei. Miss Martian swallows. Simone is slammed by Naruto, who says, restore Superboy's memories. This mission is finished. Mount Justice. Every member of the team is standing in front of Naruto, who looks at them impassively. They all know that they are going to receive a reprimand. Naruto turns to face Miss Martian, and as he starts to speak, no one speaks. Miss Martian, you disobeyed direct orders from your team captain. He says there's no justification. Frowning, Superboy says, she was coming to save me. Yes, and she left Aqualad on the verge of death while rescuing you, along with a weakening Kid and an arrow. Poor Artemis. In order to save one member, she totally disregarded the security of her other teammates. Naruto narrows his eyes. That is not what a hero does. You put Superboy's life ahead of the lives of the other members of your team out of selfishness, as Kid previously mentioned. Superboy can tolerate some pain and is indestructible at the time. You were the only person with the ability to save Aqualad, who was on the verge of death. What if it had been a civilian? Naruto goes on as a hero. It is your responsibility to protect others, not to save your fellow soldiers. We all perform this work with awareness of the risks. We sacrifice our lives for the benefit of others rather than our own self-interest. Nobody is more significant than anybody else. With a guilty sigh, Miss Martian says, I am sorry. Sorry is insufficient. You demonstrated today that your team cannot rely on you to make the difficult choices. He looks at the young Martian, who left him with no other option. You are currently barred from participating in any team activities. This team no longer includes you. Naruto is reading a book in peace while standing in the center of the training simulation, which is a forest with many training grounds and lovely green trees. Red Tornado made this holographic simulation especially based on his descriptions, and no one knows that it is an exact replica of the Konoha training grounds. The village was much nicer than the hidden village of water and hidden village of sand. The air is so clear and clean, the villagers are pretty nice, and he had always enjoyed sneaking out to the forests and lounging for hours at end. He had first visited Konoha during the Chunin exams with those idiots Dosu and Zaku, and he wanted to kill them so badly with all their posturing and bragging. Oh well, they're dead now. The simulation ends a second after he leaps to his feet and pats down his trousers. This is an honor, he says. I get to meet the original 7, Naruto says as the 7 original superheroes who were instrumental in the formation of the Justice League approach him with a bored expression that betrays neither intimidation nor admiration. Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and Aquaman give him stern looks as Superman and Batman lead the charge. Martian Manhunter is good at hiding his feelings, but Naruto can see the rage beneath the surface. Flash is munching on a chocolate bar. We sent you a summons to the Watchtower, Batman says, squinting his eyes. Naruto responds, I am well aware, but since you don't really have the authority to make me come, I chose to decline. Or did you just get the authority to make arrests and issue warrants? I don't recall the League having that capability. Wonder Woman glares, be careful with your tone. Looking at the woman, Naruto asks, or what? Wonder Woman, who is at least 3 to 4 inches taller than Naruto, advances. Between the two, Superman emerges. That's sufficient. Naruto is correct. We cannot make him appear. Furthermore, we didn't come here to be a burden to discuss your recent decision to cut Jean's niece from the team. We came here. Yes, please tell me the reason as well. She's really upset, Martian Manhunter said, his eyes revealing his own distress. If you read the report then you would understand why I did it, says Naruto. Take a break. Calder, whose senses have been sharpened by all that training with Naruto-sensei, is standing on the beach, gazing out over the ocean, when he hears someone approaching. Megan, what are you doing here? Calder turns to the girl and asks. Looking at Calder, Megan shifts uneasily and pushes a strand of hair out of her face before saying, I came to apologize. I never meant to endanger your life. I was only considering how I felt, which was selfish. I must admit that at first, it didn't even bother me, Calder says, gazing out over the ocean. It's okay. After that, I considered what Naruto-sensei had said. Knowing that you prioritized Superboy's life over mine was painful. You or anyone else would never be given preference by me. Calder. She stops talking when he holds up his hand, and Calder approaches her with a comforting grin. At least that's what I thought, he says. In all honesty, since I am also in love, I can understand why you did it. I would do for her what you did for Superboy if she were in danger. Megan's eyes light up with relief, and she blushes. Thank you. She gives Calder a hug in return, and he says, I'm still sorry. The computer room at Mount Justice. It's incorrect, he treated her too harshly, Wally says. As she crosses her arms over her chest, Artemis says, I think he did the right thing. Wally's eyes narrow. I think you should go. Speedy is much more appealing to me. Artemis smirks. I didn't know you liked guys. Both of you be quiet, Robin says, rubbing his temples and letting out a sigh. Wally. I can't help but agree with Artemis and Naruto-sensei, he says. Megan's hasty departure put all of us in danger. We could have all gone to help save Superboy after she helped us with Aqualad. If not a little more battered, Superboy would have been fine until we got there, according to the report you read. How can saving my life be wrong? Superboy asks as he enters the room. She is worthy of being a member of the team. No, Megan and Calder walk into the room. I made a snap decision that Telepath would have defeated me a second time if Naruto-sensei hadn't appeared. Who knows what might have happened then? Yeah, Wally responds, but it is one mistake. That isn't an excuse, Megan says, shaking her head. We have always been taught to cooperate by Sensei. We work together as a team. He constantly assures us that we can conquer any obstacle if we band together. I left the team and went off on my own. Sensei made the correct choice. Well, let's see how the League feels. Canary puts a hand on her hip and smirks as a newcomer enters the room. Robin hack into the training room. The young heroes gaze at her with interest. Room of training. Naruto stands in front of the 7 superheroes. Miss Martian rushed into an unknown situation, disobeyed direct orders from Robin, the team leader, and left one teammate to die. Both Kid and Artemis were under conditions that prevented them from being fully recovered. The only team member in a state to actually function was Robin. Despite being aware of Superboy's predicament, he chose to support 3 of his teammates rather than endanger his life for the sake of just one. She has proven to be untrustworthy until she can better regulate her emotions, at least. She was trying to help a friend, Superman explains. I concur to save a life. She put herself in danger. Wonder Woman concurs that being independent demonstrates her bravery and courage. Wonder Woman clenches her hands into fists as Naruto looks at her and says, "Sorry, but a bad decision is a bad decision. Bravery and courage don't mean much when you are dead." "She is just a kid," says Flash with a smile. "None of them are children," blares Naruto. "They became adults the instant you all gave them permission to wear masks and go on missions to excuse their misdeeds or to prevent them from doing things you don't want them to do. You can't keep calling them children. Do you want them to be children? Therefore, you ought to have prevented them from ever becoming your proto-copyright GA copyright S." Hal glances at Superman, Flash, and Wonder Woman. "I have to agree," says Green Lantern. "A soldier's age is irrelevant in the military. Troops are soldiers. It is expected of every soldier to perform their duties, no justifications." Batman grudgingly concurs with Naruto. "Miss Martian has received extensive training. If she is making choices like that, she is clearly not prepared to be a member of the team." "Aqualad may be young, but I have never seen him as a child," Aquaman says, nodding as a young man. He is aware of the ramifications of his choices. They're all subject to that rule. "It appears that we have different opinions on the matter," Superman says, turning to face Martian Manhunter. "You then have the swing vote." "My niece respects you a great deal," Martian Manhunter says, turning to face Naruto. The two of them stare at one another without blinking or averting their eyes. "I am willing to trust you if she is." "I will honor your choice," Jean says. "Then it is settled." "No, it isn't settled." Naruto interrupts Superman, looking at the 7 heroes. "I won't have you coming down here every time I make a decision," he says. "My decisions are final. If I am going to be the team leader, your attention to detail irritates me. It's either me or the leader. Decide." He seals his hand. "Find me when you have an answer." He disappears in a whirl of leaves. "Take a break," a woman's voice interrupts Batman and Martian Manhunter as they are about to ascend to the watchtower on a Zeta beam. "Uncle, please, let Naruto remain our sensei," the two say as they turn to see Megan flying in their direction and landing in front of them with stern eyes. "We have learned so much from him." Jean is reprimanded. "You were listening in on a private conversation," and Batman narrows his eyes because he will be discussing that with Robin. "We are sorry, but none of us want anyone besides Naruto," Megan says with a pitying expression. "He always makes fair decisions and treats us equally. This will be taken into consideration." Jean looks at Batman, who turns away and disappears into the portal, then turns back to face his niece. Megan smiles, confident that everything will work out. Joyful Harbor. "What do all of you desire?" "It took you 6 hours to find me," Naruto says, perched on the building's ledge and gazing up at the night sky while reading a book. "That's quite impressive despite the fact that I wasn't actually trying to hide." "What?" groans Wally. "We spend 6 hours on it when you're not trying." "We listened in on your conversation with the League," says Calder as he moves forward. "I understand." The young heroes are filled with surprise as Naruto turns the page and says, "I am the one who told Canary to let you all know. The meeting had to deal with you all. I believe that everyone had a right to hear it. I wasn't going to do that to you all because I detest it when people make decisions about me behind my back. That is why we don't want you to leave," says Robin with a sly smile. "You are the best at being covert," Artemis says with a smile. "Going from learning from the best to someone who is not even in your league is a bit foolish." By nodding, Naruto says, "That is true. We don't care what the League says either." Superboy is staring intently. "The base is nice and everything, but we can always work from somewhere if the League doesn't want to support us." "We do have one condition," Wally responds. "You have to let Megan back on the team." "Do I now?" "I am the one who gives orders," Naruto says, turning to face them before leaping down and approaching them. "Megan is a part of the team. She's on it or none of us are." Superboy smirks. Calder grinned and said, "That is just the way it is going to be." Silently, Naruto stands. His arms are folded across his chest. "Yeah, I mean I have done plenty of stupid things and I am still on the team," Wally responds. "It's almost getting us killed at Dr. Fate's tower," Artemis notes. "That wasn't a mission. What you all do on your own time is your business," Naruto responds. Robin speaks out. "You are the one that taught us to work together well. Without Megan it will be hard to work together. She is a part of us." Naruto gives a shrug. "It seems I am being overruled. Very well. Megan will be reinstated onto the team. Wally will be put on probation since I am being reminded of all the stupid things he does." "What?" exclaims Wally. "That wasn't part of the deal." The others started giggling. Naruto laughs a little. He's growing fond of these children. This is Cat Grant reporting from Taipei, where the historic peace summit between South and North Relation has broken down as a last resort. The two leaders have agreed to bring in an arbitrator. The rumors have come from the President of the United States to Superman, states Cat. She grins. It is unlikely that it is Superman because I hear the arbitrator is coming by car, not cape. Roy searches the area for signs of an assassin. He is dressed in a pricey black suit and carrying a briefcase. Rather than his typical Red Arrow outfit, he is examining everyone around him using his costume shades, which determine each person's weight and height. Roy is startled by a voice. Roy turns around in shock and says, I wonder who this mysterious arbitrator is. Wearing his standard battle attire, Naruto is leaning against the pillar. He takes a piece of Pocky out and bites into it. I hope it is someone I like. It is annoying to protect people that you dislike, Naruto responds. Roy glares. What are you doing here? Focus. Naruto prods. Roy frowns as he turns to face the throng. The reason I am here is the same as you from time to time. I like to go on missions of my own. It so happens that I read of this peace summit and thought I'd take a look into it. A black limousine arrives accompanied by 6 escorts on motorcycles. Suddenly, a lovely woman in a police uniform vanishes into the crowd. She throws on a white porcelain mask and rips off her clothes in a hurry. The woman has dark eyes, taut bandages, and long, straight blonde hair. She has a chain of white beads around her left hand, purple fingerless gloves, black pants with similar cloud patterns, and a short-sleeved black and purple blouse. She has a red belt around her waist, bandages around her arms and legs, and a kunai holster strapped to her right thigh. She draws a scroll and runs her blood over it within a smoke cloud. A bazooka emerges. Naruto narrows his eyes. When Roy presses a button, the briefcase opens, displaying a red bow folded up. He notches an arrow. As he opens it, he shoots an arrow with deft aim, striking the bazooka and sending her flying. With a frown, she draws a pair of kunai and leaps forward, using the people as springs. The arrow that Red Arrow shoots transforms into a black net. Red Arrow tackles her. After she cuts through the net, she raises her kunai and turns around to stand atop. Freeze. She looks up as the guns click. She is the target of 6 army men's automatic weapons. She lifts her arms in surrender and lets go of her kunai. Cat Grant exclaims, Lex Luthor, with a start. He looks at the assassin with narrowed eyes. It's not feasible. Naruto vanishes into the darkness. Take a break. The blonde killer gets away with a sign sitting in the cell. She looks up at the ceiling. This is really dull. She feels a presence, and her eyes narrow. A dashing young man is standing outside the cell. When she sits up and turns around, the assassin asks, Who are you? This is Yugito Ni, he says. Her eyes enlarge, then contract. She gets to her feet and moves forward. Yugito narrows her eyes and snarls, Only 3 people in this world are aware of my true name. How do you know my name? Naruto smiles. Yugito Ni, former Jinchuriki of the 2-tailed cat. I am Naruto Uzumaki, former Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed fox. Nice to meet you. Yugito's gaze expands calmly. Naruto asks, 9-tail? She controls her emotions and relaxes. So were you captured by Akatsuki as well? Yugito and Naruto detect a fresh presence. The door to the room is opened by Red Arrow. Red Arrow gives Naruto a narrowed look. What are you doing here? Red Arrow is punched in the face and flies into the wall. Naruto looks annoyed as he lowers his arm. Watch it. I am neither Green Arrow nor the Justice League. I have no problem with kicking your ass, Naruto responds. Yugito smiles. She turns to face Naruto and says, I remember you now. You were Orochimaru's little puppet. Didn't Bee almost kill you? Naruto's face breaks into a chilly grin. Yugito hisses angrily, Yeah, it was right after I killed your entire squad. I don't care about the past the 2 of you have. I want to know why you are here. Is it to stop the peace summit or to kill Lex Luthor? Asks Red. 2 birds, 1 stone. Grins Yugito like a cat. She winks, then scuttles down to seize the bars of her cell. As the cell's rear wall detonates, Naruto seizes Red and pulls him to the ground. Yugito turns to see who is assisting her. A young man is a few inches shorter than Naruto, who is in the hole with a heap of sand floating on it. He has creamy white skin, cold, emotionless pale blue eyes, short, spiky brick red hair, and a tattoo of the kanji for love on his forehead. He has deep black rings around his eyes and a big gourd on his back. He is dressed in a long-sleeved crimson coat with flaring hemlines on the front and back, full-length dark pants with a pair of laces on each leg, a few inches below the waist and the knees, a gray holster vest secured by a single strap over his left shoulder, and 2 buckled belts that he uses to carry his gourd. Additionally, he has another pair of belts around his waist that he wears casually. Gaara of the Sand? Naruto asks, his eyes widening. Gaara also looks at Naruto in astonishment. Naruto Uzumaki. No time for reunions, Yugito exclaims as he jumps onto the beach. A wave of sand hits Naruto as he rushes forward after drawing Samahada. He cuts through it, causing the sand to fall to the ground without harm. Gaara and Yugito are targeted by an explosive arrow. The arrow is blocked by a blast of sand, which causes it to explode too soon. Another arrow is notched by Red Arrow after saying, "Don't bother." Naruto lays Samahata on his back. He approaches the hole and jumps to the roof of the other building, saying, "Gaara will use his sand to block it. Come on, we will have to track them." Red Arrow follows Naruto as he slides down after firing a grappling arrow. Mount Justice. After wiping his brow, Superboy resumed adjusting his bike behind him. An extraterrestrial ball rolled around, making tiny sounds. He grinned. Superboy turned his head and patted it on the head, asking, "Jealous much?" With 2 brown bags in hand, Megan flies into the room and asks Superboy, "Are you ready for the first day of school? I made our lunches." Red Tornado, Black Canary, and Martian Manhunter approach the 2 young heroes. "You might want to think about changing your clothes," Black Canary said with a sly smile. Megan smiled. She changes into a red half jacket over a white t-shirt, a red skirt, socks, and flat black shoes, saying, "I picked out the perfect outfit." She whirled around. Black Canary raises an eyebrow and asks, "Can Megan Moores pass as an Earth girl now?" "Kidding," Megan said, her skin turning white instead of green. "I am ready to go to school." Superboy is tossed a blue shirt by Black Canary. Superboy said, "You'll need to wear something different as well." He took off his shirt to show off his toned chest. Megan's cheeks turned red. The blue shirt he put on. "Now we need to get you a new name." "Huh?" Superboy asked as a well-dressed black man. Martian Manhunter says, "I suggested the name John Smith for Red Tornado. You can be a John as well." "I chose the name John Jones," he says. Superboy gives a headshake. "Pass. Connor has always been my favorite name," Megan said, making her face flush. "Fine. According to Martian Manhunter, and Kent will be your last name." Megan grinned. "Oh, in memory of Dr. Fate and the late Kent Nelson." Martian Manhunter gives Canary a quick look. "Right. Rheumatism." Yugito and Gaara land in an Asian-style mansion's courtyard. It appears to be a mansion from the feudal era. The 2 gaze into the darkness. A tall man emerges from the darkness. "Yugito," the man says, "you have failed me." Red Arrow and Naruto watch the 2 assassins meet with their employers in the shadows. Red Arrow's eyes narrow. "That is Ra Al Ghul," he says. Yugito crosses her arms over her chest in a fold. "Please, I let him capture me as if some rookie sidekick can handle me. I am a true assassin, not like those weaklings." Sportsmaster in Cheshire. Ra looks over at Gaara. "No matter, Lex Luthor has become a constant thorn in my side. I want him to be dealt with immediately. Destroy the entire Peace Summit if need be, but get rid of him." Gaara looks over her shoulder. A wall of sand rises from the earth as he lifts his hand. It hits the roof with a splash with an astonished Red Arrow in hand. Naruto leaps out of the sand. Red Arrow is tossed by him. Red Arrow turns over and stands up. Red pulls out his arrows and bow. Naruto grinned and said, "I see you still have the same old tricks." Gaara responds, "I can say the same of you." Around a pair of kunai, Yugito spins. "I am going to enjoy killing you, Snake." Naruto smiles broadly. "Bring it out, kitty." Yugito runs ahead quickly. Red Arrow's eyes enlarge. Due to her rapid pace, a shadow descends from the sky. Sand splashes down where he was sitting, and Red Arrow rolls out of the way. He shoots 3 arrows at Gaara. In a flash, the arrows are blocked by sand that rises up out of the ground. The courtyard is filled with 3 explosions unharmed. Gaara stands behind his sand. The air is sliced by Yugito after avoiding 3 more slashes and landing a right punch. Naruto smirks. She ducks beneath it and sweeps her legs, leaping to his feet. He draws Samahata and swings it downward. Samahata slams through the top of the wall, and Yugito rolls back. "That sword." Yugito's eyes narrow. Samahata is lifted onto Naruto's shoulders. "Samahata, unlike you, I managed to kill the Akatsuki members sent after me." As she spins her kunai, Yugito asks, "Then how are you here?" Her kunai is surrounded by lightning. Only those who have their souls forcefully removed and sucked into that dimensional hole produced by the statue get sent here. "Let's just say that I went through a different sealing process that produced similar results," smiles Naruto. "It has been a while since I have been in a ninja battle. Try to make this fun for me." "I'll kill you." Yugito violently throws her kunai as they get closer to Samahata. The kunai slow down. She lets out a startled gasp as Naruto effortlessly blocks the kunai with Samahata before lunging forward with the sword. Sand bullets fly at Red Arrow as he runs quickly, launching 2 arrows at Gaara. He leaps forward. Gaara knocks the arrows away with a wave of his sand-clad hand. "It is pointless. My sand provides me with the ultimate defense," declares Gaara. Red Arrow pulls an arrow and shoots it. "We'll see about that," he says. The sand of Gaara rises up and blocks the arrow. Detonates. A second arrow travels directly toward Gaara through the air between the sands. Gaara lets the arrow fly past his face by tilting his head. "It seems you have hard time controlling your sand after an explosion," Red giggles. Gaara doesn't show any emotion. Red Arrow's ankles are under pressure. He notices sand surrounding his right ankle. When he looks down, he is lifted into the air by the sand, which spins him around before slamming him into the wall's side. All your explosions do is spread my sand throughout the courtyard, making it easier for me to attack you, Gaara says. A little blood comes out of Red Arrow's cough beside Gaara. A figure slams into the earth. Gaara turns to face Naruto. Red Arrow is beside Naruto. When he lands, Yugito gets to her feet and spits out blood. I remember you being much more bloodthirsty. It seems with the demon gone you have mellowed out, laughs Naruto. I have a memory of you being much more cold and vicious in your fighting style, responds Gaara. Samahata is hefted onto Naruto's back. I am playing the hero now. I can no longer kill. Yugito gives a scowl. The hero? That's too funny. With his eyes fixed on Yugito and Gaara, Naruto asks, Hey Red, got any arrow that generate lightning? His sand techniques are weak to lightning. Red gets up and notches an arrow. I can. No you can't, Naruto responds. You got talent and skill and you seem smart, but that stupid pride of yours is going to get you killed. I can handle the cat, but the Sandman over there is the true threat. I specialize in close range and ninjutsu, and you specialize in long range. I need you to do what you do best. Yugito dashes ahead. Red and Naruto are grabbed by a wave of sand that erupts from the earth. The pair leaps apart. Yugito smirks as she directs chakra to her legs and rushes in Red's direction. In front of her, shurikens sail through the air, and she leaps back quickly. Red aims an arrow at Yugito. After notching it, she throws a pair of kunai at Red as she leaps over it. The arrow flies at Gaara, its sparks encircled by electricity. Naruto lifts his arm and says, Hidden snake hands. As he flew at the Yugito in the air, a dozen snakes exploded from his sleeves. The snakes encircle her and pierce her flesh with their teeth with pain. She screams. Gaara lifts his arm, forming a sand wall. The arrow pierces his chest. After sailing straight through it, Gaara's eyes are filled with surprise before he collapses into the sand. Yugito tumbles to the ground and becomes a log. Red's eyes enlarge. What? With a shout of, Focus! Naruto throws a kunai into the darkness behind Red. Yugito emerged from the darkness. Her hands are hazy. Fire release. Fireball. She exhales, sending a massive ball of fire flying in Red's direction. The fireball explodes as Samahata flies through the air and strikes it. Spear of Shukaku. Naruto is struck by a gigantic spear of sand. Naruto makes a backward flip. Rain of death. Sand-made spikes fall from the sky. Naruto is pierced by multiple spikes and has nowhere to run. He plunges forward, turning into mud and splashing to the ground. Gaara's eyes dart around as he stands atop the wall. Fire release. Phoenix of the immortal flames. Naruto is seen floating high in the air. When Gaara looks up, a dozen fireballs that Naruto spits out rain down. Gaara is shielded by a rising wall of sand. The courtyard is filled with several explosions. Yugito dodges while cursing. Red shoots an arrow and says, Got you. It exploded into a dark web. She slices through it with her kunai. Yugito easily dodges Red's 3 explosive arrows. With her exceptional speed, she shows up before him. Yugito smirks. It seems I am the one who has you. She was grabbed by the ankles by a pair of hands that sprang from the ground. She was dragged down to her chin in earth release. Inner decapitation. Behind her, Naruto leaps out of the earth. Red is pulled away from Naruto by sand, who encircles him. Gaara remains composed. It seems we are at a stalemate. Naruto smiles. Yeah, it seems so. The old Gaara would have killed right then and there, not caring about his teammates. The response from Gaara is, the old Uzumaki would have truly decapitated her. As the sand starts to crush him, Red lets out a painful scream. Naruto grins more broadly. Gaara's head turns as Samahata slashes through the sand holding Red while flying from behind in a blur. Naruto grabs Red and disappears. The young woman was safely surrounded by sand as the ground around Yugito exploded. Gaara and Yugito emerge alongside each other in a whirlpool of sand. Gaara and Yugito are stared down by Naruto and Red. Another time, Gaara disappears as the sand envelops him. Yugito gives Naruto a fierce look before sealing his hands. She vanishes in a smoke cloud. Samahata is hefted onto Naruto's back. Come on, we need to get back to the peace summit. Summit on peace. Peaceful negotiations between the two countries have finally been reached. Another attack was taking place on the summit while Naruto and Red Arrow were engaged in combat. The assassins were easily dispatched by Lex Luthor's cyborg assistant in order to secure Luthor's new enterprise for the future. The leaders of each country united to establish peace after being so impressed by the technology. Red Arrow frowns. I can't believe Luthor is the hero. Naruto gives a shrug. He looks at Red Arrow and says, it sometimes turns out that way. Want to reconsidering joining the team? You got talent? Red responds, no thanks, I work alone. Naruto looks Red Arrow square in the eyes and says, I understand. You want some respect, I believe you deserve it, however. Don't let your anger at the Justice League get in the way of what you are doing. The Justice League is not what you should be striving to achieve as a hero. You need to strive to keep peace and save lives. Do that, and it won't matter whether the dumb-ass League respects you, because the rest of the world will. Red Arrow's gaze enlarges. Naruto smiles. Naruto disappears in a whirlpool of leaves, saying, "I'll see you around. I look forward to seeing how much stronger you'll be next time we meet." Red Arrow's expression changes to a smirk. He gazes down at the summit for peace. Red turns to leave. Mount Justice. Superboy's eyes are fixed on the TV. Naruto leaps over and lands on the couch. He starts eating after opening a bag of popcorn. "How was school?" "Boring. I hear Megan is a cheerleader." "Yeah. What is a cheerleader?" "A girl who dresses up in a uniform and cheers loudly." Shrugging, Naruto asks, "Really? Sounds boring." Sitting quietly, the two gaze at the TV. Superboy keeps scrolling through the channels in search of something worthwhile.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.